is Jim Wilson, and I'm the president of the Inland Valley Uplift Foundation. The members of the foundation, with the assistance of members of the Zeta chapter and many other members of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, welcome you to our 11th annual Youth Leadership Conference, normally held at the University of Laverne in Laverne, California. Due to the pandemic, this meeting is virtual. We have several professional men that are experts in their field, willing to share their knowledge in an effort to aid these young men to achieve their goals and become leaders. Through the years, we have mentored and helped over 1,000 young men. All mentors are volunteers and are dedicated to helping these young men. This webinar will be 3 hours long, with the first 2 hours dedicated to the young men and the last hour dedicated to the parents. As always, we begin and end all our meetings with a prayer. Reverend Jewett Walker, would you kindly lead, pastor of the New Shady Grove Baptist Church, Los Angeles, California, would you please lead us in prayer?
Let's bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, this morning we are here for a great purpose. We ask that the young men pay particular attention to the words that will be delivered to them today. We ask that the parents be engaged, be enthusiastic, share with their children ongoing after this is over. We ask that the men who are here to participate and to glean and to give knowledge to the young people do so in an enthusiastic way that will allow the young people to be able to take the knowledge in and understand it the way it's meant to be. We ask that you pray with us, not just help us, Heavenly Father, but pray with us as we're here today, beseeching you to watch over us as we try our best to impart the knowledge that we feel is necessary for young men to lead the kinds of lives necessary to be productive citizens in this world. There are so many challenges that face us, and we know that we cannot do it alone. Only with your help, Heavenly Father, will we be able to overcome the challenges that face us every day. In your name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Reverend Walker. This morning, we have 3 very special guests: the leadership of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity on the international and district level. I would like to first introduce our Grand Bosses, Brother David Marion. Brother Marion.
Thank you so much, Brother Wilson. I want to congratulate you and Zeta chapter and the Inland Valley Uplift Foundation for putting on this youth leadership conference year after year after year. I bring you greetings from over 200,000 initiated men of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in 750 chapters and in 15 countries. We're so proud of efforts like this. Omega is known all over the world for their fatherhood and mentoring initiatives. And this is one of the great ones that we have every year. This is the 11th annual. You talked about this particular youth leadership conference serving over 1,000 young men and even more parents and guardians and caretakers and volunteers. So we're so grateful for the work that you all do in this area. Again, I want to thank Brother Wilson for his leadership. 60 years in the fraternity. He came in through my district, the 7th district, New Epsilon at Alabama A&M. And we're so proud that he continues to lead. Now in these years of his life, he still chooses to lead Dear Omega. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brother Grant. Next, I would like to introduce Brother Ricky Lewis. Brother Ricky Lewis, the first Vice Grand Bosses of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. Brother Lewis was our inspiration for starting this youth leadership conference out in the Inland Empire. I attended his first leadership conference in LA, was held at LA City College. It was a great event, and many years afterward, he had mentored and saved thousands of young men. Brother Lewis had this saying, saving lives one young man at a time. That became very appropriate to me, considering during the time of the Youth Leadership Conference, gang activity was at its height in Los Angeles. Brother Lewis had worked very diligently to show these young men that there's a different way of life. Brother Lewis.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Wilson. Good morning. Brother Wilson, thank you for that introduction. Thank you for your leadership. To our leader, our grand boss, Dr. David Marion, to our leader here in the 12th District, our 12th District Representative, Brother Kwame Dow, to former DR, Brother Jewett Walker, to all the brothers in the 12th District and all the district officers. Let me just say kudos to the Inland Valley Uplift Foundation and the Brothers of Zeta Tau Chapter for your steadfast leadership. What you have done over the last 11 years have changed the trajectory of thousands of young men's lives. And for that, we say thank you. I would be remiss if we didn't thank all the fathers that joined us this morning. We say thank you. Thank you for your leadership and leading your home. I would be remiss if we didn't thank all the mothers for your attendance. We say thank you as well for what you do. To all the brothers, to all the volunteers who work hard to make this YLC come to fruition, we say thank you for your service and thank you for your sacrifice. And we thank your families for allowing you to serve our beloved organization. We just want to thank all the Omega men for leading from the front. As our grand ambassador said, we're known for fatherhood and mentoring. That's what the Omega men do. So sit back and relax and enjoy this outstanding program. Brother Wilson, thank you for this opportunity. I yield my time.
Thank you, Brother Lewis. Finally, but not least, I would like to introduce the 12th District Representative, Brother Kwame Dow. Brother Dow.
Thank you, Brother Wilson. Good morning, mothers, fathers, and young men. As Brother Wilson mentioned, my name is Brother Kwame Dow, the 34th 12th District Representative. The great thing about my role is that I have the opportunity to see the great work that the Brothers of Omega and the 501c3 foundations that we primarily work with are doing around the district, which includes the 10 states in the West, including Alaska. This is one of our premier youth leadership programs in the country. Leadership being the key word. We are building leaders, one leader at a time. I'm so proud of the work that the Inland Valley Uplift Foundation and the Brothers of Zeta Tau Chapter are doing with the 11th Annual Youth Leadership Conference. Pandemic or no pandemic, you brothers would not let it stop you from putting on this much needed event. Parents, your most important investment is your children. And we want to make sure that that return on your investment is as great as it possibly can be. Young men, soak in all the information that's being shared with you today. We have your best interest in hand, and we want to see you successful. Parents, we have some great information for you today as well. Enjoy the day, enjoy the event. Brother Wilson, thank you for a moment to bring greetings, and I yield my time back.
Thank you, Brother Dow. Certainly appreciate your comments. Now, I want to introduce you to Mel Palmer. Mel Palmer will be the moderator for the rest of the event. Dr. Mel Palmer. Brother Palmer.
Good morning, everyone, parents and students. Good morning, brothers. This 11th Youth Leadership Conference is on its way, and we have a lot of information to share with you this morning. My name is Dr. Mel Palmer, and I'll be your moderator throughout this program. Just some housekeeping rules. Because we have a lot of information that's going to be passed, I'm sure you will have a lot of questions. Please write your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. If you're having problems with other devices, please turn them off because you might miss some valuable information that will be shared. The question and answers that don't get answered at this particular time, there will be opportunities for the subject matter experts to answer your questions. So without further ado, We will continue with the program at hand. The University of Laverne has sponsored this program for over 11 years. And here to speak with you about how COVID has affected admissions at the University of Laverne is Mr. Sean Carr. Mr. Carr, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Carr, admissions counselor at University of Laverne. And I wanted to just talk about how the COVID era, how the pandemic has shifted the world of college admissions for both prospective and current students, and sort of where do we go now? I just wanted to talk to you after speaking with many college admissions counselors around the country, some of the effects that we've been receiving from high school students, particularly seniors, through this process. So we'll start. What are some of the challenges that college admissions are facing with high school seniors during the pandemic? And what I want to do is focus on the graduating class for a brief second of fall 2020, because this was the first group of students who were affected by COVID-19. So nationwide, we saw a reduction in students submitting college applications. And for that fall graduating class of 2020, we saw for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American students that enrollment was down 30% for community colleges around the country. We also saw that for private nonprofit colleges, for white and Asian freshmen, enrollment was down as well, but enrollment was up for underrepresented students at these private colleges. So what we saw was once students had sort of dived into that remote learning, many students felt like that was not a good adjustment for them, and they felt like they wanted to continue with face-to-face learning. So students had attended for the fall, some of them didn't appreciate the experience, and they decided to sort of opt out for that spring semester, which is right now, spring 2021. So what a lot of college admissions offices are thinking about now is, for those students who've decided not to come back for the spring, how could we get them to come back for the fall? Because now most colleges and universities are looking to go back face-to-face for fall 2021. So one thing I would encourage you all to do is for those students who graduated in fall 2020, have a conversation with them, ask them, if they're looking to go back to college in the fall, and have they actually started that process? So you want to ask them, what does that process look like for you? That's something I would encourage everyone to do. So let's talk about this graduating class for fall 2021. There was a recent study through the Common application. We can go back to the previous slide. We can go back. Yeah, thank you. So why aren't students applying? So students were not getting enough one-on-one time with their college counselor. The Common application just released a study saying that they've received 8% fewer applications from students who submitted their Common application. And then for the 921 Common application schools, 60% of them reported that they've received fewer applications than they did last year. So many students are not applying to colleges and universities this year. Now let's talk about the why. Students are not getting enough one-on-one time with their college counselor. So on average, the School Counselor Association recommended that for every 250 students should be one college counselor. Here in the state of California, just to give you a little bit of brief data, the average for the college counselor to students is 708 students to one college counselor on average. So due to the pandemic and everything is remote, it's hard for students to get that one-on-one time with their college counselor. It's hard for them to talk about the different colleges that they want to look for, making sure that their high school transcripts are submitted, the letters of recommendation are submitted, that the applications fees have been found. So these are just some things to look at. And I'll ask all the students on here who are high school seniors, how many times have you met with your college counselor this year? And if you feel like you need to meet with them on a more one-on-one basis, reach out to them. Right now is the time, because the May 1 decision deadline is right around the corner. Students are all Zoomed out as well. So between taking classes on Zoom, their extracurricular activities on Zoom, the college fairs this year were on Zoom, and even the the college presentations were on Zoom. It was hard for students to sort of, Zoom out, which they had to make many decisions. One of those decisions were, if I'm a college representative and I'm going to be on Zoom during your lunch period, students had to make a decision. Well, am I going to sacrifice my lunch period to listen to this college presentation, that's probably a school I may have never heard of, or am I going to, take my lunch? And these are some of the reasons why colleges have seen that decline, because of lack of exposure that students are getting with colleges that are new to them. Students are not getting the information as well. So think about it. On average, each college or university is sending about 3 to 4 emails per week to students. So if a student has been admitted into 10 colleges and universities, that's about 40 emails per week, just from the admitted schools, not the other schools who are sending them inquiry information to try to get them to apply. So lots of times students are just missing the important information that they need in order to complete the college application process and to confirm their deposit. And then students just don't have the confidence that they'll get in. So in the previous years, when we were face-to-face, you can meet with an admissions counselor. We can look at your transcript and say, you know what, there's a big possibility that you should get in. I think you should apply. And with that type of motivation, students would apply to the university because they felt more confident. Nowadays, students really don't know because it's remote. So it's less personable, and students really don't want to put themselves out there as much because they may feel like they're going to get denied. And then finally on this slide, students were applying to more selective schools. So many students, because now schools were test optional, were applying to more elite schools. So they'll apply to, your UPenns, your Hamptons, your Howards, because many of those schools are not requiring test scores. But what students weren't doing was applying to more schools, the more regional schools, schools that would probably be a best fit, school that would provide them with more scholarship dollars and things of that sort. So again, overall, this has led to sort of a downcrease in students submitting applications. But what I want to tell students are there's still time for you to apply to many of these colleges and universities around the country that will provide you with not only a favorable decision, but also additional dollars. Slide, please. So what are some of the challenges, the changes that colleges have made to adjust to the current climate for high school seniors in particular? As I just spoken, many institutions had now gone test optional because last year many students didn't have the opportunity to apply for the SAT or SAT tests. So if you received a decision, and this is particularly again for high school seniors, if you what you could actually do, and I would encourage you to do, if you were denied, for example, you can appeal that admissions decision. You can contact the admissions department, let them know that you received your mid-year grades, and you want to go back and see if that decision could be made. Students, you have nothing to lose by appealing these admissions decisions for the schools that you may have not received a favorable decision for. Schools are now also providing additional scholarship funds and grants. So as many of you know, the Department of Education had increased the Pell Grants this year. Many colleges and universities also understand that parents have lost their jobs, so as a result, they're providing more scholarship dollars. They're re-leveraging financial aid packages. So students, feel free to contact these financial aid offices and ask them what type of additional funds do they have. I know at University of Laverne, for example, just 2 days ago, we had a meeting where we had some additional scholarship dollars where they asked the admissions counselors, if you have any students that could use some additional money, submit their information to us, and we have additional money that we would like to give to them. So for the different schools that you're applying to, again, feel free to ask if there's additional funds available. More schools were flexible with their academic standards. So send in your mid-year grades from your senior year. We understand that last year, a lot of students had to take pass-fail courses. We've taken those things in consideration on the transcript. And then also feel free to ask about application fee waivers. A lot of schools are willing to waive application fees. And then we're flexible with the admissions deadlines. So a lot of schools are, extended their deadline. They're operating on a rolling admissions basis. And also students just apply to these private colleges and universities around the country. If you are interested in applying to University of Laverne, I can drop my email address in the chat box. Feel free to shoot me an email and we can have you apply. I can have you an admissions decision. And this can be another school that could be added on to your mini list of schools that you've already applied to. Next slide, please. So how have college admissions offices adjusted to the pandemic for prospective students? Well, due to the pandemic, this has really made accountable for many colleges and universities to step their game up in a tech-savvy way. So we have more virtual tours available, and not your traditional old school tours, but now colleges and universities are offering live virtual tours where you have the opportunity, to literally log on Instagram, for example, and follow through the whole campus, and it makes it more personable. Check the college websites of their virtual tours, the YouTube videos. Right now, it's a great time because a lot of schools are having these admitted student events where they're going to have a lot of different webinars for you to speak to current students. Those webinars are here for you to hear from presidents of the universities. So just make sure you take advantage of these opportunities. Also, schedule an interview with your admissions counselors. Everyone, for the most part, is working from home. So you literally have the counselor's information right at your fingertips. And what I mean by that is feel free to reach out, shoot them an email, set up a Zoom interview. This will make it more personable. They'll have an idea of who you are. And this will sort of strengthen your relationship, not only with the admissions counselor, but also with the university. Thank you. And then the virtual information sessions. Next slide. So what are colleges looking to provide for students in the fall? To be honest with you, it is so unpredictable because things are changing on a week by week basis. So I know for some schools, I'll speak for University of Laverne in the spring. Well, these are some of our plans, for example. So we're looking to offer classes, face-to-face, online, and hybrid. We're looking to offer more courses throughout the day, which is also going to make the class sizes more smaller so students can safely social distance inside the classroom. We were also in the spring, because we had housing available, we offered single occupancy rooms for students. And then again, yeah, just so you know, things are changing. So for the most part, doing my research, most schools were not requiring vaccines, but things could change within the upcoming months. Next slide. And then these were just some of the like safety and social distancing tools that we've had at University of Laverne. Again, making modifications to our dining hall, just having rapid testing, tracing, quarantine policies, limiting events, and so forth. And that's the end of my next slide. I'll take any questions. And what I also just want to do is encourage students again, make sure you contact the admissions offices for the different colleges and universities that you've applied for. And again, things are going to be continuously being updated, but you want to stay ahead of the information. Thank you very much. Dr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. A lot of good information there. Please put your question and answers in the Q&A, and Brother Rodney Jones will receive your questions. Brother Jones.
Good morning, everyone. Great presentation, Mr. Carr. First question. Well, Mr. Carr's email will be in the chat box. You'll get that later. But the first question, when should students apply for scholarships?
Well, I mean, the process starts as early as possible. Students, there are scholarships out there that you can apply for if you're a sophomore, junior, your senior year. So that process starts now. I know even if you just, there's many websites out there that you can apply for. But for colleges and universities in particular, those are merit-based scholarships. So as long as you're admitted to the university, you're automatically considered and reviewed for those merit-based scholarships. But again, make sure you contact the admissions office, the financial aid office. There could be additional dollars that they have for students. They could re-leverage your financial aid packages. So you don't know if you don't ask.
Students, parents, if you're having more questions, please enter them in the Q&A. Back to you, Mel Palmer.
Thank you, Brother Jones. STEM majors are popular these days. And here is a young man who's actually a STEM engineer, and he's doing the work on a daily basis. Please welcome Mr. Simeon Hayes, environmental engineer. Mr. Hayes, you're on.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's so good to have everyone here. Let's see. All right. So, as mentioned, I am an environmental engineer for the state of California. This is going to be a presentation on Let me minimize my screen real quick. Here we go. So this is going to be a presentation on what it's like to be an environmental engineer. Many of these pictures on this presentation I have taken myself. So these are places I have been. So let's go to the next slide. So why did I choose environmental engineering? Well, basically, I love nature. I grew up watching Discovery Channel, Steve Irwin. I'm kind of a hippie like that. I love nature. I like being in it. And by definition, I want to protect it. And environmental engineers do just that. We love to protect the environment. Also, I'm sure you guys heard this little thing called global climate change. Well, we fight that. We deal with air quality, we deal with water quality, we clean up with wastewater treatment, drinking water, we deal with all these fields. So basically, we clean up the environment. And since this is a global issue, climate change is a global issue, it's going to have global solutions, meaning global jobs. So I wanted to be able to work anywhere in the world. And environmental engineering, basically engineering in general, has those probabilities, has those possibilities. Sorry. It's going to require, basically engineers are professional problem solvers. So I really liked math growing up. I wasn't good at it, and I'll talk about that later, but I love math and science. I love nature. So why not environmental engineering? And you can see some of the pictures here, San Pedro in the top, that's here in California, Yosemite National Park. I'm sure many of y'all heard that, and Avenue of the Giants in Humboldt County. So let's go ahead, next slide. So why did I become, or how did I become an engineer? Well, that is very easy, ladies and gentlemen. Go to college. Let me repeat that again. Go to college. All right. I have a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering from Humboldt State University. I have a master's degree in environmental engineering from Sacramento State University. And next month, I'm taking my professional engineering exam in chemical engineering. So you got to go to college. You got to get educated in this stuff. All right. How did I do it when I was there? Study groups, study groups, study groups. I could not have gotten these engineering degrees by myself. Study groups were a crucial part of that. Reaching out for help. I failed a lot of classes in college, but I did not let that stop me. I persevered. I came back for more. I was hungry. I was thirsty. I came back for it. I didn't let that stop me. I reached out to my professors. I reached out to my friends who got A's in this topic, and I formed study groups with them, and they really helped me out. And not only that, it exposed me to all these different diversities, all these different types of people and backgrounds. So it helped me be able to communicate with people from different backgrounds. Also, you got to surround yourself with positive, smart people. All right. You got to get the negative, do nothing people out of your life. You got to surround yourself with smart people. All right. At my job, almost all my friends have PhDs. I am the least educated person in my job, basically, and I have a master's degree. I love surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me. All right. That's how we get better. All right. Also, while you are in college, do not just go through college and don't get any internships. All right. You got to get work experience. Okay. I was doing engineering work before I even graduated. I had internships in Alaska, Colorado, and Costa Rica. All of them were paid. Okay. $15 an hour, 40 hours a week for 10 weeks. I'll let you do the math on that one. All right. This is all paid. And no, the money was great, but the real thing was the experience. In Alaska, I was doing renewable energy work. Colorado, I was doing air quality monitoring. And Costa Rica, I was doing stream water monitoring. All right. So don't sit on the couch all summer playing Xbox like I did my first 2 years. Go to internships, travel, see the world, and get paid to do it. All right. There's so many opportunities. The American passport is a very powerful thing. Use it. All right. You can see pictures here on the left of me in Alaska, Costa Rica. Pura vida, mi amigos, for those of you who are Spanish speakers. Pura vida. And right here in the bottom, that's me on my school's webpage for environmental engineering. I'm kind of a big deal. Next slide, please. So What classes I've taken? Okay, so you're gonna have to take a lot of math and science classes as an engineer, all right? But remember, I was never good at it. I started off in high school in remedial math, okay? X equals Y, real basic stuff. And then I worked my way from remedial algebra to geometry to algebra 2, and then pre-calculus in college, then calc 1, then calc 2, then calc 3, then differential equations. Oh my God, I cannot believe I made it this far. And again, study groups played a crucial part in that. Then I went on to take physics 1, physics 2, physics 3, which is basically statics dynamics, fluid dynamics. Then you have computer programming, thermodynamics, chemical engineering, all these things, wastewater treatment. These are a lot of, I know it might seem intimidating, but with good old fashioned hard work and again, study groups, you can persevere through these things. All right. Get tutors. There's so many opportunities at the universities for free tutoring. I know at my university, if we got a group of 3 or more, you got a free tutor provided by the university. So all I had to do is go out and make friends. Okay. And these classes help me understand the environment, how chemicals interact, how air moves. I love riding motorcycles. You can see a picture right there of the aerodynamics around a sport bike. I love chemistry. And these classes help me understand those things. Next slide, please. So after getting my bachelor's degree, I was crazy enough to go on to get my master's degree. Literally right after I graduated in May, and then by August, I was in my master's program. Again, environmental engineering. All right. And we took, basically, I took more engineering classes, more geared towards environmental, of course. I took environmental microbiology, which is a really cool class. Also, we learned how to make beer in that class. Very cool topic. Also, we took environmental chemistry, more drinking water, stormwater treatment, which became my master's project, groundwater hydrology, soil mechanics, and so on. Again, these classes were difficult, but it was worth it in the end. All right. It was worth it in the end. I do not regret the hard times I went through. I could tell you so many times when I was studying in the library Friday and Saturday nights, and my friends were like, come on, send me on. Hey, it's a cool party going on right now. Where are you at? Studying. What? What are you doing? I'm studying. Okay. You got to learn how to tell people no. All right. And it paid off in the end. And I'll tell you about my job later. So focus on your classes. You're there to get a degree. The partying is for later. And I'll talk more about that later too. Next slide. So what do I do? So I am an environmental engineer at the California Air Resources Board. So I want everybody to stop, take a deep breath, exhale. You didn't cough. You're welcome. That's what we do here at California Air Resources Board. We regulate the air quality by monitoring car emissions, trucks emissions, all those black smoke you see coming out of trucks on the freeway. We regulate that. All right. Diesel emissions are considered carcinogenic, meaning they cause cancer. So we're trying to fight that for you guys so you don't breathe that. And remember, air emissions don't have passports. They don't recognize political boundaries or borders or state lines. They travel the whole world. All right. It's all connected. And so when emissions come out here in California, go to Texas, go to Mississippi, and vice versa. So by cleaning up our air, we clean up everyone's air. By 2035 in California and UK, you can look this up and Google it, there will be no more new gasoline and diesel cars at the dealership. No more new vehicles sold. So what's going to replace them? Electric and hydrogen fuel cell. So to all my future scientists out there, I encourage you to get really good at these technologies. Understand how batteries work. Understand how fuel cells work. All right. This is going to be the next generation of propulsion. And we just invented ion propulsion, which is basically what we used to think it was the stuff you see in sci-fi movies like Star Wars and Star Trek. Now we have ion propulsion in space. So all these amazing technologies out here, you got to learn these things because this is going to be the technology of you and your kids' generation. And again, in California Air Resources Board, we're, like I said earlier, we're fighting climate change, which is a global issue. All right, next slide. So why should you choose a STEM major? I love the work I do, but also the money. The money, there's so much money out here. 3 years after finishing my master's degree, I'm already at 6 figures. All right. Who loves math now? All right. So, and then when I pass my professional engineering license next month, I'll cap out at about $130,000. All right. So that, and then when I retire, I'll get over 10 grand a month, every month to the day I die. And then when I die, my wife will get that money with full benefits. Okay. So these are really great jobs. And there's plenty of them out here, but you got to have the degree. You got to have the degree. All right. Future opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if you heard, but in 2026, we're going to Mars. All right. And we're going to be an interplanetary species. Okay. We don't need basketball players or football players in space. We need physicists. We need mathematicians, computer programmers, engineers. All right. We need scientists in space to help us navigate the hazardous world out there in the universe. All right. We don't need any more social work majors. We don't need any ethnic studies majors. We need scientists. All right. I am sick and tired of being the only person of color in my math classes, in my engineering classes, and going into my engineering meetings. I am so tired of it. All right. My professors ask me all the time, where are all the Black people at? I don't know. They're in the other majors, but they're not here. I talked to some of my Black friends and they said they don't like math. Why? Because they're afraid of numbers. They didn't study. So I encourage you, like I said, I was not good at math. I had to study a whole lot. You have to do the same thing. All right. So please, please, at my job, there are 50 engineers in my branch. There's 3 of us that are Black. One's from Ghana, one's from Nigeria. I am the only African American in my branch, representing the entire Black population in America that you're looking at. So please, go challenge yourself. I know these majors seem hard at first, but you could do it. I am proof. And on a lighter note, you can see me riding my motorcycle with my wife on the back, me hanging out with llamas at the top right corner, and driving on the bottom electric Fiat. Next slide. So, am I happy as an engineer? Yes, absolutely. All right. I took 11 years to finish my bachelor's and master's degree. All right. People ask me all the time, was it worth it taking 11 years of math and science and engineering? Absolutely. Because it allows me to live this amazing life where I could go ride my motorcycle. The picture of me in the back is me dragging my knee at around 90 miles an hour at turn 3 at Thunder Hill Raceway, Northern California. All right. I also get to surf every weekend with my wife. I just got back from Jamaica. Wagwa man, everything Irie man. So you get to do all these fun things and travel the world because I have the time and the money to do it. All right. And you appreciate it more. When you struggle that much for 11 years trying to get your math and science degree, you really look back and you appreciate it. And there's not a day go by that I take it for granted. I love every moment of it because I earned it. And that's something that no one can ever take away from me. All right. I could break my leg, tear my ACL, and unlike a football player, I still have a job. Okay. So these are things that you can do. Absolutely, you can do. And also, my job is recession proof and my job is recession proof and pandemic proof. All right. This whole pandemic thing didn't faze me at all. I still got it. In fact, I got a pay raise during this thing. All right. Because my job is critical. You need engineers to fix society's problems. All right. If you fire us, you're really going to have a big problem, especially with climate change knocking on your door. And again, this job allows me to live an amazing life. All right. Imagine students, we're a world when you you don't have to do any more homework, no more exams. At 5 o'clock, that's it. It is Monday's problem, and the weekend is yours. It is such a nice problem. I still wake up on Sunday nights in a cold sweat, like, oh my God, do I have work on Monday? Oh my God, what do I got to do? I got an exam to do? No, I have to remind myself school is finally over. And it's so nice. It's so nice. Next slide. So, I'm kind of a nerd and I love anime and kung fu. So I'm gonna leave you with this one quote. If you only do what you can do, you will never be more than you are now. In saying that, my name is Simeon Haynes. I'm a Black engineer and I hope to see more people of color in my field. Thank you very much. Let's open for questions. I love questions.
Wow. You got me wanting to change my major now.
Good.
So there's a lot of questions in the Q&A. So Brother Rodney
Woo.
Jones, you have the questions.
Brother Simeon, great presentation.
Thank you.
So I should have became an environmental engineer, making
Never too late.
I want to go to Mars. Okay, first question. How early can students start applying for college admissions and scholarships?
I'll say as soon as they want to, basically. You can start applying for scholarships in high school. I mean, talk to your college counselor, your high school counselor, but also this wonderful thing called Google. Use it and look for scholarships, all right? There's so much information on the internet. By all means, start early. I would say don't wait to college to start looking for scholarships. Start now.
And how long does it take to be an environmental engineer? One of the questions.
That's a good question. It varies from people to people. I had to put myself through college. I worked a lot through college and balancing that with, with classes. And these are not ordinary classes, these are science classes, of course. But usually you could do it between 5, maybe 5.5 years, depending, on the type of engineering you want to do. It took me longer because I had to work a lot and I couldn't take as many engineering classes I wanted these semesters. But it really varies on how hard you're willing to work and how focused you are. And how many times you have to repeat a class too. Like I said, it wasn't no walk in the park. Life for me wasn't no crystal stair type of thing. You had to, I messed up a lot of times, but I had to pull myself up and keep going. So it varies, it varies.
What kind of advice would you give someone who's looking into colleges?
Pick the one that you want to go to, not your friends, not your parents, you, because you're the one that has to wake up for that 8 o'clock chemistry class. But also make sure it's one that you could afford. Make sure it's the one that basically you like, and you actually go there before you say yes. Meet the faculty and staff. I went to Humboldt State University and I talked to the engineering professors, and they loved me and I loved them. And I was like, this is where I want to be at. So go see it.
Here's an interesting question here.
Ooh.
Is it true the environment got better over the pandemic?
In some aspects, yeah. People stopped driving. I know here in LA, the air quality got better because people weren't driving. In northern India, people can see the Himalayas for the first time in their lives, and they're right there up against the Himalayas. So yeah, that's proof that the environment will heal with the absence of human intervention, with all the emissions that we do, all the cars that we drive, even what you eat. Agriculture, it emits more pollution than all the cars, planes, and trucks combined. By eating beef, you're emitting more than basically a diesel engine. So if you want to really contribute to the environment, adopt a plant-based diet like I have.
Okay, last question. What summer programs are available 2021 that will help me get more scholarships?
That's something you have to take up with your counselor, because I'm out of college. I don't keep track of scholarships anymore. But the Career Center is a great opportunity. I was religious at the Career Center. They knew me by first, middle, and last name, and I think even knew my social security number for all the applications I filled out. I was best friends with the Career Center at both my graduate and undergraduate schools and in high school. I was always in there doing lunch, like, hey, what new money you guys have for me? All right, I really wanted it, okay? I saw how much engineers make and I said, yes, please, I want that major. I want that job. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay, there's more questions in here. We will respond to them later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back to you, Mel Palmer.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck.
Wow, thank you for those questions. Keep those questions coming. We enjoy hearing those questions, and I'm pretty sure you will want them answered. Now, you just heard the chip, but it doesn't fall too far from the block. Next up is a hazmat, and he was talking about more careers as a STEM engineer. Brother Michael Haynes. Brother Michael Haynes, you have the floor.
Can you see me? All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning to the teachers, my colleagues, definitely my frat brothers, including my son who just recently spoke to you, parents, but among all, students. Now I'm going to direct this solely to the students. Parents, you can listen in. Students, I'm expecting you to write down everything that I'm saying to you because this is a hookup. This is a guaranteed freebie. This is even more interest to you to the fact that you can be an engineer. You can be a STEM major. So today I'm going to address some of the STEM careers, not all, some. I'm gonna highlight a few that I'm familiar with and some that are currently in the movement. Now, today I'm going to highlight 3D printing. I'm gonna highlight hazardous materials and emergency response. I'm gonna highlight drone technology. I'm gonna highlight public health, especially in the time of COVID. Now, also, in your DNA, students, is the magic of building the pyramids. So I agree with you, similar to the previous presenter, math is no easy chore. However, in your DNA, your forefathers built the pyramids. So therefore, moving forward as a STEM major is fairly easy for you. I'm also going to highlight some aggressive programs, internships, scholarships. So yes, email me and my email address will be in the chat. But you need to contact me immediately regarding internships and sponsorships because the previous presenter forgot to tell you some of those internships was directed to him by my agency, the South Coast Air Quality Management District, which is the air arm of the Environmental Protection Agency, as well as it was sent to him via students such as summer programs associated with Omega Psi Phi and other 501c3 organizations. Also, our STEM program today will offer you students gifts, door prizes. So I'm going to give you some clues on how to get these particular door prizes and gifts associated with STEM. Today, we're going to be giving away 4 Razor scooters, and we're also going to be giving away 4 commercial drones. Next slide. I want to acknowledge right now all of the sponsors and the stakeholders. Oh, definitely, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. Again, especially the brothers of Inglewood and the brothers in Long Beach. I want to throw a definitely shout out to you, rude to the bros. Also, my agency, the South Coast Air Quality Management District. I'm in the Air Toxic Emergency Response Unit. I'm in compliance and enforcement. So that means I'm one of the engineers that go out, say to this case, refineries and confirm that they are operating per our permits. I'm also one of the guys that go out when you see an explosion, like recently in Southern California, there was a major fire in the Compton area where 38 buses and structures went up and you saw all this plume of smoke. Well, my air monitoring team was also there. We were there before and we were there after. So you have active and inactive organizations or activities. We also want to throw a shout out to Cali, PA, and definitely our resource board. Next slide. So students, please write this down. Parents, if you're sitting or standing next to the student, give them a piece of paper and a pencil. I am not doing this for fun. I'm not doing this for free. This is a hookup. Therefore, I don't normally tell students how to get ahead. But for you today, I'm going to tell you how to get ahead. What do they have in common with these 2 people that you see on the slide? Number 1, President Barack Obama was the first Black president He was also the first president, black or white, to promote STEM to explore external planets. And like Simeon indicated, we're on our way to Mars. Next, the gentleman that you see standing next to him or sitting next to him is brother Charles Bolden. So for you Omega men, that means he's a Q. First black chief of NASA. So again, students, if you want to explore the regions, if you want to get ahead, STEM careers are where to go. I am not saying you should not major in sociology. I'm saying if you major in sociology, minor in the STEM major. Next slide. All right. African-American men are the other STEM minority. That means African-American men are the least group in STEM programs throughout the United States and globally. Coronavirus, COVID-19 hit us with a shock, but it also opened up new career fields in the STEM area. And again, it is not often that you hear, we request your participation. I need as many African-American men and African-American women to consider the STEM field. Next slide. Again, science and technology, science, technology, engineering, and math. Write it down, students. Science, technology, engineering, and math. President Obama dropped about 250 mil. Even Mr. Biden is already dropping another 300 mil for STEM. And then guess what? Right now, foreign students studying physical science and engineering in the United States surpassed the number of American students taking physical science and engineering. That's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. That's a problem, African-American men. That's a problem, fathers. That's a problem, mothers. We have to do a lot better in moving our students into these STEM fields. Why? Because besides what the previous presenter indicated, yes, there is money in it. There is also survival for us that's in it. Next slide. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. We have now developed the 1890 National Scholars Program that's offered by the United States Department of Agriculture. I've listed some of the careers that you see here that you can get a full ride. I said that right. A full ride. That means housing, tuition, and a stipend if you major in some of these majors and attend one of the land grant universities that I'm going to show you. Oh, by the way, in order to get one of the prizes, you need to know and list some of these particular STEM careers. Next slide. These are the universities. Write them down, students. Take a snap picture of this slide. Also, students, look at the eligibility. 3.0, that's fairly easy these days, a minimum 3.0. And we also have a member of Omega Psi Phi that actually works for USDA and part of the intern program that we can get you into this program. Next slide. Whoa, African-American men, the other STEM minority. However, we're changing it. The men of Omega Psi Phi are changing that. The men of Southern California are changing that. The agencies in Southern California are changing that. Guess what? NASA right now is asking students from the 9th grade to the 12th grade to be part of the Air Quality Citizen Science Program, where you will be accessing local air quality data with particle sensors and utilizing NASA's satellite data. NASA's satellite data. So again, we're asking you, we're begging you students, please consider a STEM major. Next slide. Racial ethnic differences. Parents, take a picture of this. Students, write this down. 42% in 2020, African American. 53% Asian. STEM careers, STEM majors. That's a problem. Half of the Asians, over half of the Asians that go to college are majoring in STEM. Less than half African Americans going to college are majoring in STEM. The Native Americans even beating us out, the Indians. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying that's a problem. That is a problem. Next slide. All right, so as we go forward on these slides, I'm going to highlight numerous careers, but again, the ones that we talked about. So if you see the top slide is in solar, the next slide over, you have a biochemist. The next slide over on the bottom left, you have, in this case, a transportation specialist, or in this case, a captain of a freighter. That's a STEM major. And then to the right, that's me suited up at a local facility. Next slide. All right, students, this is going to be part of the test in regards of getting one of the drones. Please, the #1 career pathways are health services, write that down. Industrial and engineering technology, write that down. Human services, write that down. Natural resources and agriculture, write that down. You are aware that business management and technology is a STEM major, write that down. Arts and communication, write that down. One of these could be you. Next slide. All right, these are the average salaries for students graduating with a bachelor's degree in these particular fields. So I'm not going to say them all. I'm just going to say highlight a few. Highlight the environmental scientist. Highlight the environmental engineer. Highlight the chemical engineer. I am a chemical engineer by trade. Software developer. Post-secondary teacher. Computer systems analyst. And again, with cyber crimes increasing, identity theft increasing, ladies and gentlemen, major in computer technology if you don't do anything else. Oh, by the way, there's a brother, you see, we are underground in the Metro Rail in Los Angeles. We're 300 feet underground in a tunnel that was just built to run the Metro Rail through. And again, you have to understand, these are some of the careers that you will be involved in and that we're asking you to participate in as you say to your parents, this is what I want to do. When you say, this is what I want to do, meaning what do you want to do when you graduate from high school, similar to the previous presenters, you must start in the 6th grade. You must start in the 6th grade to prepare for a STEM career. Next slide. DNA, a stem cell researcher. Now, DNA is in the news a lot because if you've already taken that vaccine, that is what we call messenger RNA. I'm not going to bore you guys with a little science, but I'll tell you this. Write down the 4 proteins that are part of DNA. Write those down. The #1 question to get a Razor scooter is, can somebody email me, what does DNA stand for? The first person that sends that to us will get a Razor scooter. I need you to spell the words out. Any misspelling words, you off. I want you to spell it correctly, and I need you to tell me, what does DNA mean? Next slide. All right. Another event would be aerospace engineering, aerospace maintenance technician. Question #2, we've recently sent a rover to Mars. That rover's name is Perseverance. For some of you brothers, that may have went over your head, but that rover's name is Perseverance. Can you tell me the name of the drone? That is good for the 2nd Razor scooter. Whoever can send me the name of the drone that's part of the Perseverance rover satellite, I need you. You get the Razor scooter. Next slide. STEM careers, pharmaceutical production or product officer. Ladies and gentlemen, AstraZeneca, but even more, but Moderna and Pfizer are scheduled to make over $20 a dose. In other words, they're scheduled to make over $32 billion for the vaccines for the first quarter. They're currently paying people right now $6,000 to participate in the vaccine treatment research. So if you know someone that's interested in getting injected with some of these vaccines for test purposes, right now we're paying people $6,000 for that. Next slide. At the border of California, Nevada, you will see what we call the largest solar system in the United States. It's called a solar facility, and it provides the electricity to all of Nevada and portions of Arizona, as well as California. That job is called a solar facility operator. Where are the African Americans that want to be a solar facility operator? They pay excess of $125,000 a year. And it's an excellent, clean career. Also, we're currently building the Tesla Megapack energy site where they have 256 Tesla battery packs that will power over 700,000 homes. Where is the solar facility operator and where is the energy specialist among you students? Well, who is the energy specialist among you students? Next slide. More stakes, GMO specialists. Next slide. Microchip specialists. You are aware that some companies don't give you badges anymore. We inject you with a microchip. The microchip is the size of a grain of rice. But I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying I need you to become a microchip specialist. Next slide. Drone technology specialist or technician. Drones are here and they will be here for the future. So any of you students that are in the 6th grade through the 12th grade, you need to start thinking outside of the box. We need you as an attorney, but we need you more as a drone technologist. Next slide. 3D printer technologists. Are you aware that we're printing out engines now? We're printing out pieces for homes. We're not building them in the old-fashioned way. Cell tower site specialists. Yeah, most of you have cell phones. Do you know how they work? No, I'm not talking about how you text on the phone. I'm not talking about how you use the phone. Do you know how a cell tower site specialist work? In other words, that is how cell towers operate. Next slide. Telecommunication specialists. Again, I'm not talking just engineers, cell phone tower designer. All these jobs that I'm speaking of, I'm sorry, I made a bad word. I said jobs. I mean careers. All of these careers, I'm telling you, are paying over $100,000 a year. I know that's 6 figures. That would put you in middle class. And depends on what state you live in, that may put you in upper class. Next slide. Biochemists, emergency response specialists. Every time you see a fire, there are chemicals that are being released in the air, on the soil, and in the water. We need people as a biochemist. We need people as emergency response specialists, similar to like the physicians that I do, the activities that I get involved with. But the bottom line is that these careers are in demand. Similar to the previous presenter, I am tired of seeing people that don't look like me. I'm tired of training people that don't look like me. So I need some of you students to think outside of the box again and consider a STEM career. Next slide. Whoa, drones. Some of you can actually learn how to not only fly the drones, but also some of you can learn how to operate the drones and design the drones. Program the drones. Drones are here to stay and they're being used in so many areas. Next slide. Genetic engineer. Do you know we're designing babies? Next slide. An international trade specialist. Here in Los Angeles, we're next to the second and the third largest ports in the world. Why aren't we involved in being an international specialist? Next slide. Biochemists, wastewater treatment technologists. You are aware we're currently doing wastewater to tap water. That means the water that you flush down the toilet in 6 months, you're now drinking it. I know it normally looked like that brown stuff you see pouring out this pipe, but now you're drinking it. Next slide. Botanist, agricultural engineer, biological scientist. We are genetically modifying different types of vegetables. You have the orange cauliflower, you have the purple cauliflower, you have the green cauliflower. Next slide. Again, cloning is alive and well. USDA said that we can eat the meat. Some of you have been eating clone meat. Some of you have been eating hybrid meat. Next slide. A gene technician, genetically modifying fruits and vegetables, or at least governing and watching over. Johnson & Johnson just reached a $1 billion deal with the United States to provide COVID-19 vaccines for 100 million experimental doses. I said it right, experimental doses. $1 billion. Is that going to trickle to the Black community? If you're not involved, it's not. Next slide. Genetic engineer, livestock cloning, again, is alive and well. You see the what we call the Frankenfish and then the regular size fish. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm an engineer by trade. I'm a scientist by trade. I'm just telling you the facts. The facts are we need you in these fields. Next slide. Rail projects, railways. Do you know a railroad conductor makes over $180,000 a year? That means the guy that sits in the train, the engine, and says, I'm moving forward, moving back. He's the one that pulls the little cord and says, woo, 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 $180,000 a year. Woo, 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 woo. I think we need to woo, woo, right to him. Next slide. Again, energy specialist, similar to the previous presenter. Electrical vehicles, hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are alive and well in the United States. They're moving forward. We need energy specialists for these positions. Next slide. Atomic vehicles, that means the ones that drive themselves. We need you in this position. Next slide. Hazardous material specialist. This is similar to what I do. This is how I look when I'm at work most of the time. But again, similar to the previous presenter, we are trying to reduce the risk of cancer that is airborne. And there's a lot of chemicals that get airborne that are carcinogens. Next slide. Healthcare facility specialists, healthcare safety specialists. With the COVID-19, oh, by the way, these viruses are here to stay. Matter of fact, if you want to start a program at your high school, start designing masks. Matter of fact, why don't you start selling masks as a project? Identify the different types of masks. Next slide. By again, safety officer, registered environmental assessor, certified safety professionals. All of these people are involved right now with the COVID-19 distribution of vaccines. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We got occupational nurses, we have supervisors of loss control, we have worker compensation administrators, we have risk managers. All are STEM, all pay well, all are excellent careers. I did not say the J bad word. I'm not directing you to no job. If you want a job, get off the phone. If you want a job, get off the computer. I'm not teaching jobs, I'm teaching careers. Next slide. Underscoring the importance, very important. Underscoring the importance, very important. Parents, I'm talking to you. Do not allow your son or daughter, or guardian in this case, decide on a major or career field without your input. And one of the things you need to look for in a career field is longevity, longevity, and longevity. It is very important that you students consider that these governmental agencies, as well as these careers, will last forever. Next slide. In closing, I want to thank all the parents and the students for being part of this great STEM program, as well as this great YLC event. Please send me your emails. We will decide on the 4 winners of the Razor scooters and the 4 winners of the drones. You will be contacted later on the day or tomorrow. In that case, you will give us your address and we will send these devices out to you. In closing, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Haynes, for all that valuable information. Oh man, by now you should be able to concentrate on at least one career. And here to answer some of your questions, Brother Jones, you have the floor.
Brother Haynes, great presentation. First question, how much time should you spend in researching a college that is best for you?
I would say you need to spend somewhere between a month to 2 months to research a college. But when you're researching the college major, also research college careers. In other words, that major is going to direct you to a certain and hopefully STEM career. Also research the career fields that this major is going to open up to you.
Second question, if you're taking STEM right now in middle school, will it follow you into high school?
If you're parents and you want it to follow you into high school, it will. You should allow it to follow you into high school. But similar to the other presenters, you must start directing your classes for a STEM major in college and a STEM career after college. So yes, I would say stay the course, young man or young lady, I believe it's young man, stay the course. Do not deviate from the course. Next slide.
Students and parents, if you have any more questions, please leave in the Q&A. Back to you, Mel Palmer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Haynes and Brother Jones. Brother Haynes showed you some HBCUs, historical Black college and universities. Now, that might be foreign to some of you, but here to speak to you about what that experience is all about and how to enter into a STEM program at an HBCU is Brother John Hobbs from Howard University. Brother Hobbs, you have the floor.
Good morning, brothers. Good morning, parents. And good morning, my scholars. How are you all doing this morning? Who am I? I am John Hobbs, an educator, former assistant director of Morehouse and Admissions, life coach, marriage, family therapist, community activist, but most of all, I'm a father, friend, and the most important thing, a child of God. It is very important that we honor and put God first. I'm a 3rd generation HBCU graduate. My grandmother, 1911, graduated from St. Paul University. My father attended Shaw and Morehouse College. My mother graduated, once again, my mother graduated from North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina, and I finished at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Now, gentlemen, I have 3 simple rules for today. 1, love and respect yourself. If you love and respect yourselves, you have no problems loving and respecting those that come against you or those that are around you. Today, we're in a very turbulent society, and a lot of people will come at you sideways, but with that love and respect, it will be deflected. Rule number 2, always, always, always live your lives with a purpose by being positive and always persevering. And the 3rd and most important rule, and Brother Haynes stated it, this is a professional environment. You have to realize we are professionals. Please, this is a professional settings. Please treat today's webinar as professional men. by paying attention, once again, by paying attention and taking notes. Very important that you take notes. I know some of you guys are probably lying down or chillaxing in the sofa. Sit up straight so you can think straight. I'm going to ask you a very, very important question. Do you like money? I think our brother Haynes was trying to allude to about the job. I'll say it. J-O-B means just over broke. You're not planning for a job. You are planning for a career. Okay. Do you like money? If so, I have $60 right here. I will give it to the person. I will give it to the student that answers the most questions. And when you answer the question in the chat box, you have to put your first and last name, student, and the answer to the question. Once again, you have to put your first and last name, identify yourself as a student, and answer the question. So, are there any questions before we get started? And you have a chance to get $60, and maybe some of my fraternity brothers might add to the pot. We have to understand what is a college. And if you really look at a college, yes, they want to educate its students, but realistically, a college is a business, parents and students. And so when you make this financial investment, where do you want to invest your money? There's things you would like to ask a college, all colleges. Number one, what is the retention rate for African-American males their first year? Meaning, what's my chances of my son coming back? At HBCUs, it's a 78% chance that the student will return for his sophomore, junior, and senior year. Second question is, what's the matriculation rate for African-American males? Meaning, how long is it going to take me to graduate in 4 years? And the average matriculation rate for HBCUs is 84% to 86%. Why choose an HBCU? The question is, why not choose an HBCU? Next slide, please. Can you go ahead and hit the YouTube video, please?
Before the Civil War, educational opportunities for free black children, particularly in higher education, were quite limited, even in the North. Some students, however, managed to leap over the hurdles standing in their way. John Chavis, a free black man from North Carolina, was the first African-American college student. Chavis studied as a private student under the president of the College of New Jersey, now known as Princeton University, and continued his studies at Liberty Hall Academy in Virginia. In 1862, Mary Jane Patterson became the first African-American woman to receive a bachelor's degree when she graduated from Oberlin College. Patterson became a teacher and then the first black principal at the Preparatory School for Negroes, now known as Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. Before the Civil War, discrimination against black students led to the founding of the first black colleges in the North, including Wilberforce in Ohio and Lincoln and Cheney universities in Pennsylvania.
Cheney University in Philadelphia is the first historically black college or university. It was founded in 1837 as the Institute of Colored Youth. The founding of that institution transforms educational possibility for African American people.
The era saw huge growth in the number of black colleges and universities, from Howard and Fisk to Hampton and Tuskegee.
Historically black colleges and universities take African Americans who struggle in our failing public schools and turn them into a rigorous scholar with access to a future who has earned the credentials for a college degree.
HBCUs arose as a direct response to racial discrimination, providing opportunities for black students to gain a higher education and enter the middle class. According to the New York Times, HBCUs make up only 3% of the colleges across the country. And yet, at least 50% of Black doctors and 80% of Black judges have graduated from their classes. There remains a significant racial gap in degree attainment, but this gap is shrinking thanks to these Black institutions and to increased Black enrollment in historically white colleges and universities.
Slide 2, we should still be on slide 2. On February 25th, 1837, Cheney University of Pennsylvania became the nation's first historically Black college, or HBCU. The university was established through a grant or a donation by Richard Humphreys, a Quaker philanthropist who gave $10,000. The goal was to educate African Americans to become educators. Basically, the thought for HBCUs when they first started was to make sure that African Americans were teachers or preachers. Okay, and that's what the educational process was about. Now, question number 1. Write this down and put it in the chat box. What was the first HBCU's? Question number 1. Question number 2. What HBCU did my mother attend? Number 3. What city is Howard University in? Slide number 3, please. After the Civil War, HBCUs emerged to provide Black Americans with the most basic human rights to fair and equal education. From the late 1800s to the late 1900s, HBCUs thrived and provided a refuge from law and public policies that prohibited Black Americans from attending most colleges and universities. Most of our nation's HBCUs were started by philanthropists and free Blacks. Southern states, at the behest of the federal government and religious organizations such as the American Missionary Association and the African Methodist Episcopal Church. HBCUs provided undergraduate trainings to 75% of all Black Americans holding doctorate degrees, 75% of all Black officers in the armed services, 80% of all Black federal judges. Today, all 101 HBCUs across the United States continue to play a vital role in Americans' prosperity academically, socially, and economically. Question number 4. What was the purpose of HBCUs? Once again, what was the purpose of HBCUs? Number 5, how many HBCUs are there? Once again, how many HBCUs are there? And the next question, name up to 3 HBCUs. I'll give you a few seconds. You should be typing these answers in and sending them to us if you want the drones and the money. Slide number 4, please. Look at the pictures, gentlemen. Before higher education was desegregated in the 50s and 60s, almost all Black college students enrolled at HBCUs. Slide number 5, please. Have things really changed? I need you to reflect on what's been going on in our society. And the question is, have things really changed? Have things changed for the better or for the worse? The question is, have things changed for the better or for the worse? Please type in your response. Slide number 6, please. What I got from Howard University, I grew up in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino. I wasn't, I was only pushed by my parents and my village to succeed and go to college. But Academically, the schools that I attended did not push me to go to college, did not push me to take AP courses, let alone advanced courses. They basically wanted me to take basket weaving 101. What I really, didn't have a zest to seek education. Just what my parents kept pushing me to. I was a lazy student, didn't have the confidence of being a great scholar. Now, it finally clicked my senior year in high school that, hey, I need to get up out of San Bernardino. And then I happened to get a scholarship to Howard University. When I first got to Howard University, I was a fish out of water. I never experienced so many, or never seen so many intelligent African-American males and females. Everybody was smart. Everybody had a story to say. Everybody wanted to contribute and enhance our race. Back in San Bernardino, only thing we could talk about was girls, sports, and television shows. At Howard, they were talking about world politics, investing, creating businesses. I was in a whole different world, and it was a strange environment. I had two choices: either go back to San Bernardino or assimilate and get with the program and hang out with the winners. Okay, another thing about Howard University and the HBCU is understanding the importance of the Black diaspora, not just nationally, but globally. At Howard University, I understood the value of nature versus nurture, okay? Nature versus nurture is basically the factors that influence who we are, from our physical appearance to our personality characteristics. Nurture refers to the environmental variables that impact who we are, including our early childhood experience, how we were raised, and our social relationships with our surroundings. So HBCUs and Howard University was a very nurturing environment. I was away from home, and basically I did have the opportunity to go to majority colleges in California and also Howard University. And at Howard, I realized and I was able to witness that they really cared about me. They encouraged me to uplift myself, to be better, to take pride in myself. In fact, I had professors would knock on my door, say, "Mr. Hobbs, you missed my class today. You're wasting my time and your mother's dime. Get yourself together. You're better than this." And right now, we're in a situation of fight or flight, also known as acute stress response. Refers to the psychological reaction that occurs. We are in the presence of something that is mentally or physically terrifying. So going to an HBCU and Howard University, it sheltered me from that, where I was encouraged to overcome all obstacles and to persevere any pitfalls or calamities that were in my life. Today's taglines: well, things are different. In order to compete in the real world, one cannot exclude oneself by attending an HBCU. Look at today's society and ask yourself, is that statement true? Whatever choice you brothers make, whether it's an HBCU or the majority institution, remember, you must represent the true characteristics of manhood and scholarship. Represent our race. Uplift ourselves. Members of the Make It Psi Phi, young brothers, we are throwing you the rope over the wall to help pull you over, passing you the baton. And we're encouraging you guys to keep the struggle alive and keep striving for positive prosperity. Now, you have to ask yourself, what psychological struggles do you see facing you today? I need you to answer this question: how can an HBCU benefit you? In closing, the tragedy of life doesn't lie, not just reaching your goals. The tragedy of life is having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it's a calamity not to dream. It is not a disgrace not to reach the stars, but the disgrace is to have no stars to reach for. Not failure, but low aim is a sin, by Benjamin Elijah Mays. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Brother Hobbs. Now enters Brother Rodney Jones. Will take your questions. Brother Jones, you have the floor.
Brother Hobbs, great presentation. I'm gonna wait about maybe 20 seconds. I see no questions in the Q&A.
Okay.
Okay, I have the first question. What is the matriculation rate of Black males at an HBCU?
Like I said, the average matriculation rate or your chances of graduating within 4 years is 86%.
Okay.
That means it's a high number. So my chances of finishing college in 4 years, I have an 86% chance of finishing and earning my degree.
Okay. Parents, students, any more questions? Oh, here's a question. How did your experience of leaving home going to a HBCU?
Like I said, at first it was terrifying for me to be around so many educated African-American males and females. But once I got there, I felt I was in heaven. I encourage students and parents to encourage your child, young men, to go east of the Mississippi for college. Get out of California. California has a tendency to make you SOFT, soft. Some of you young brothers are softer than a bag of wet potato chips. And for me, I was that wet bag of potato chips. And for me to go 3,000 miles away from home and to experience a different life in a different environment made me man up and make better decisions in my life.
Okay, I like that. Well, I went to school out of here, Cal Poly. I'm not soft.
When I say soft, we have the environment where you have the weather, you're close to home, and going back east, it was sink or swim because I couldn't run home. I couldn't cry to mama, and we didn't have cell phones then. So you had to man up and stay grounded and focus on your coursework. And that's when the HBCUs came in with the nurturing part, where your professors knew what was going on psychologically, and they helped you adjust, and they helped you maintain your sanity by encouraging you to stay in class, go to class, and get that degree.
Outstanding. Another question. What made you choose an HBCU?
Well, I had a choice of Arizona State University, Cal Poly Pomona, UCLA, and Howard. And basically, my mother pushed me, said, no, you got to get out of California. And plus, Howard was offering more money. So, and like I said, getting out of California was my parents' desire for me to experience life on the East Coast. And they all had experiences at HBCU, so they're advocates for historically Black colleges and universities. And that was the only HBCU I applied for.
Okay, last question. In your opinion, which HBCU will be the best for a STEM major?
All of them. But to be honest, I think Howard University, North Carolina A&T will probably be your better your choices. And I like to say this, and this is the cliche I used to always hear in California. Well, you can't compete with the real world. HBCUs don't compete and they don't prepare you for the real world. All I have to say is my classmate, Kamala Harris, is competing and leading the real world.
Well, parents, students, if you have any more questions, please leave in the Q&A. Back to you, Mel Palmer.
Can I say one thing, Brother Jones?
Yes.
Anybody, like I said, give me the information who had the most questions or responded to it. And like I said, I love to make sure they get this money.
Okay, I'll text it to you.
It's money in my pocket. Thank you.
I'll text it to you. Back to you, Mel Palmer.
All right, those brothers are upping the stake. I hope that you students are getting a lot out of this Youth Leadership Conference today. And we're now moving into the parent portion of this. But students, don't go anywhere because there's still more to learn. Here to talk to the parents is Brother Ronnie Walker. Brother Walker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Brother Palmer. Good morning, parents, especially you moms. We are in the mother's portion of this conference. And first, I'd like to say that we have a mentoring program. So if you like what you've heard so far, if you want your kids to be a part of our mentoring program, or if you just want to get the kind of material that you're hearing here today, you can just let me know, sign up on my email tree. So you have to go to the chat room, put your name, your email address it to me, Ronnie Walker, and I will get back to you with applications or just add you to my email tree so you can be a part of the information network that we have or the mentoring program. So let's get started. Today we have a dynamic speaker and we're going to be talking about college prep. But first, before we get to that speaker, I'm going to talk just briefly on the pros and cons of going straight to a university versus a community college. Now, guys, since I'm old school, community college, junior college, same thing. I'm going to say junior college because it rolls off my tongue a whole lot easier. So let's look at one of the first things that we've been sold on. Junior college. Go there for 2 years, get an AA, go on to a university, maybe go to the university for 2 years and get that bachelor's. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Generally, your junior colleges have 3 to 3.5 year programs if you're not going to summer school every summer. Another thing, if you are on your way to a university to get a bachelor's, sitting around to get an AA, it's kind of like taking sand to the beach. You don't need it. Now, if you want an AA because you are not going any further on to a university, then by all means do that, but just realize that your AA puts you a step above a high school diploma, and you're still going to be battling with those people that have bachelor's and master degrees. So my thing is, if you can attend a university right out of high school, do so, okay? Part of the problem that I get with kids that end up in junior colleges is they never leave, okay? Statistics tell us that we get in junior colleges and that's it. We hang around because majority of the kids in our junior college system, they are ultimatum kids. You know, that child that graduates from high school and the parents give them the ultimatum, you either work, go to the military, or go to school. They're not going to the military. They're not going to work because they've never worked. That's another subject. And so they go to school and waste time for a few years before they decide to drop out, become a rapper, or hang around that junior college for an extra 2 or 3 years so they can play ball and maybe go to the league or get a 4-year scholarship, okay? Neither one is real practical. Out of all the students in my mentoring program that have ended up at community colleges, I've only had one that transferred and went on and received a bachelor's degree. We get lost at junior colleges. There's really not a whole lot of guidance there. And so parents, you have to stay on top of your kids, because if your child ends up at a junior college, you got to see what your child is doing. Make sure that 2 years is the max that they should be there, and then transfer out. Now, California has done something interesting. Like I said before, majority of the kids that are in these junior colleges, they're us. Majority of them never leave. Some of them do transfer. But now in California, the majority of the colleges here, if your child enters a junior college, they're making that child get an AA degree before he can transfer out. Now think about that. I just said the majority of us don't leave. The majority of us, if we get an AA, we go nowhere. Now in California, the colleges want us to get an AA before we transfer. So I'm not really a proponent of that. So I tell most of my youth, try. You know, parents, no matter what you see as the GPA, what, you know, a lot of us think, oh, my child's not ready. I hear this all the time. My child's not ready for college. He's immature. Well, probably your child will always be immature and not ready because he's at home, and in your eyes, your baby hasn't grown up because he's your baby. So let's put in some applications. Let's apply for these HBCUs. A lot of our kids will get accepted in these HBCUs and denied in other schools. Why? Because our HBCUs want us to succeed. They want us to get educated, and they're not closing the front door like a lot of other colleges do. Okay, you know what colleges I'm talking about. So let's apply for these schools. And lastly, if you find your child at, well, let me talk about the okie doke. One of the okie dokes is that you will go through a junior college in 2 years. I think I talked about that. No, most of those junior colleges have 3 to 3.5 year programs, unless you're at summer school. And the same thing with the universities. And because a lot of the universities aren't accepting the classes, and that's something you have to do too. If you end up at a junior college, make sure the school you're trying to transfer to is even accepting the classes that you're taking at your junior college. I found when my kids were at the university, they both went to HBCUs. During the summertime when they came home, the only schools that their colleges accepted was Cerritos and Compton. So every junior college out here, the classes aren't accepted worldwide. So you have to make sure that's happening. And then lastly, if you have a child that's at a junior college and they end up with not so good grades, and that happened to me, that happened to my daughter. But I was determined in 2 years, my daughter was going to transfer. She wanted to go to one of the HBCUs. So I ended up calling that HBCU and had a long discussion with the administrator. And the administrator told me to go to junior college and get a fee waiver, not a money fee waiver, but a fee waiver. So what a fee waiver does is once you fill it out, it lets that university know that you don't really want them to look at those junior college transcripts, because if they do, your child probably won't get accepted. And then the gentleman told me that my daughter was going to be admitted based on my promise that she was going to go to their school and do the work. Yeah, you heard me. Based on my promise. I couldn't wait to run to that junior college to get a fee waiver. And the interesting part is I thought I was going to have to explain to them what type of fee waiver that I wanted. That lady reached in that drawer and knew exactly what I needed. Gave me that fee waiver, which then told me this isn't all that rare. They give these out a lot because she knew exactly what I wanted. I sent that off to the school, moved my daughter into that HBCU in the fall, graduated on time, getting her master's now at USC. Okay, so our schools, our HBCUs, I will say they aren't easier. They just don't always shut the front door when it's time for us to get in. Okay, so that is my my input on junior colleges, because like I say, guys, I've had a lot of kids there, and when I call to check on them, and I check on them regularly, you know, they decided they're going to rap now or they're going to play ball, and I'm like, hey man, you've been at that junior college for quite some time. You going to stay longer to play ball? Yeah, well, I think I'm. Does not happen. It does not happen. So my opinion, preferably, is put your child into a university right out of high school. Don't waste time at that junior college level. Okay, so that is my 2 cents. My next presenter, this gentleman has been a teacher for over 20 years. He's a man of God. He's a pastor. And his specialty is getting your kids prepared for college. He teaches college prep. So without any further ado, I'm bringing you Mr. Eddie Slack.
Thank you for that introduction, Brother Walker. Greetings, brothers, parents, guardians, family, friends, and especially students, and in particular, young men. When we look at everything you've seen and heard so far, all of it has a foundation. And Brother Walker gave a nice intro there, and he talked about applying. The foundation to all of what you just heard, most of it, as a matter of fact, is college preparation. It is the game that's being played and been played for decades that we have not been taught to play. So what I'm going to do this next 30 minutes, 30 minutes, is give you the insight on how to play the game to win it. That is to say, to get your child prepared for college, because it is a game and you have to know the game so you don't get played. and you become a player in the game, because we are left out of college because we don't know how to properly prepare for college. That ends today. Let's dive in. So what you have here in college preparation is a life game. The game of life here is about freedom, if I may use this for an introductory segment, freedom versus slavery. In old school, slavery was physical. Now it's mental. And what is slavery? Slavery is not having a choice. It is doing what you are told to do and what you have to do. College preparation for student elevation, as you see in the first slide, it is about giving students choices. You see, because most of the kids are saying, well, I don't want to go to college. I'm not meant for college. Well, that's what you're saying now, but you're 16, 17, 18 years old, 19 at best, maybe. 5, 10 years from now, you may change your mind and discover that you no longer want to do what you have to do to pay the bills, what you're told to do, which is nothing but modern day slavery. Because remember the definition, slavery is doing what you have to do or what you're told to do. College preparation allows you to have choices so that you can choose to do whatever you want to do. So this is why I'm really excited about the opportunity to give this information to you. And I titled this, The 3 Keys to College Preparation for Student Elevation. And it really involves freedom, giving you a choice. You want to prepare yourself for the future, young people. And parents, this is where you're critical. This piece is critical for you. By giving yourself choices, because you may change your mind about working at Walmart. You may get sick of flipping burgers. And if you have no choices, then you are a modern day slave. You are now doing what you have to do and what you're told to do, as opposed to having choices and freedom to do what you choose to do. So let's dive into the foundation of all of these careers in STEM and all of these paths in HBCUs and all of these opportunities in University of Laverne, as Brother Carr so eloquently showed you. Let's dive into this. Slide 1, the 3 keys to college preparation for student elevation. The first key is Cal State and UC applications. Preparation for Cal State and UC applications. This is the critical piece, and this is where most of my time will be. So please hang on to your hats, take some notes, listen carefully, write down what you need to. The slides are available, but you have to tune in here. This is the critical piece, and the other 2 pieces are going to deal with financial aid and inspiration and mentoring, interviewing, that kind of thing, and we'll go pretty quickly on those. Here we go. Cal State and UC application begins the preparation for student elevation and college preparation. Now, in the old days, there used to be college applications, UCs and Cal States, beginning with those. Let me pause and give you the information there. Why UCs and Cal States, brother Slack? Simply because if you're a California native or resident, when we get to the money, we'll talk about this later, you get what's called a Cal Grant. That's coming in part 2. And a Cal Grant is $10,000 to $12,000 of free money times 4 years. That's about $50,000 free money for a Cal Grant, just because you live in the state of California and you're a resident and you thought you couldn't pay for college. This is why I'm going to start and talk mainly about the Cal States and the UCs. The private schools and the privates like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, they all follow the same necessary entrance requirements in preparation as Cal States and UCs. All right. And so let's dive in. All right. Key number 1, Cal State and UC applications. I just told you why, because the money's there and we'll talk about that later. It normally began with ACT and SAT preparation, but the game has changed. That's no longer a requirement. Bravo, it makes it a lot easier to get in, but you still must know the game so you don't get played. So here's the game. First, number 1, Cal State and UC applications are deadline due by November 30th, 2021, not a day later. You turn in that application December 1st, your college application entrance is denied. You're done. You're going to get a letter back saying something. We're sorry you missed the deadline. It's a wrap. See you next year. Try next year. So that's number 1. Now, here's the next thing. Number 1, in dealing with the college applications for Cal States and UCs, number one is the, as you can see here, it's really number two, transcript evaluation. Transcript evaluation, and then GPA verification. Please listen carefully, jot down what you can. Transcript evaluation begins with 9 through on here in your, this is an example of a transcript. So if your student has a transcript, you can look at the bottom of it. It's going to have the student's evaluation or GPA. And the GPA at the bottom is going to say grades 9 through 12, but it's really not. It's really grades 9 through 11 because your kid doesn't have any 12th grade grades. They're in the 12th grade. There are no grades yet. They won't have any grades until January, which is the end of first semester. So if they have no grades to the end of first semester, hear me carefully, and the application is due November 30th, 2 months before January, then the only grades they have to calculate on the transcript are 9 through 11. So your college application has 2 GPAs it looks for. Number one is the 9 through 11th grade grades. Those are the grades that you see on the slide that says transcript evaluation 9 through 11. Those can have everything from 9th grade to 11th grade courses. And you must have a C or better in all of them, the core requirements A through G. We'll talk about that in just a second. Now, the second item is the GPA verification. I need to slow down here and breathe. So this is really a 2-hour piece that I got to squeeze in 30 minutes. I'm going to try and give you the nuggets here because it's critical. Okay. When you look at the GPA on the transcript, it's going to give it to you, 9 through 11. There's a second number on the transcript. It's just below it. It's going to give you the 10th through 11th grade GPA. Put a star by that one. That is the one for Cal States and UCs. The Cal States and UCs are going to use the GPA from your 10th and 11th grade courses to determine your GPA for college. Wait a minute, Mr. Slack, Brother Slack, you're saying if my kids got A's and B's in their 10th and 11th grade courses and their GPA is 3.5 and their overall GPA from 9 through 11 is 2.5, the college is going to take the 3.5? That's exactly what I'm saying. Welcome to the game. So if your overall GPA from 9 through 12 or 9 through 11, it's going to say 9 through 12 on the transcript, but it only goes to 11. From 9 through 12 is 2.5, but your GPA from 10 through 12 or 10 through 11, remember you don't have 12th grade grades, is 3.5. The colleges are evaluating you on the 3.5. Don't let the GPA fool you. So you must understand that the transcript evaluation is where you start with your college application. So when you look at that grade, well, Brother Sly, can I trust the GPA on the transcript? Yes and no. Yes, if they did it right, no, if they did it wrong. What do you mean? You mean the GPA can be wrong? Sometimes they make a mistake. And remember, when they calculate your child's GPA, they're adding those F's and D's that they made up. Hear me carefully. The UCs are going to take any F's you made in biology, chemistry, English, Spanish, and calculate it with the A you made it up in summer school. So if you got an F in biology in regular school year, and in summer school you got an A, the UC system is going to go F plus A and average it to about a C. The Cal States, however, are going to take the F and then the A and wipe the F out and take the A from summer school. So then remember, the transcript is going to calculate the GPA with the F in it. So you must calculate your own GPA on the side and take the F's out for the Cal States. The UCs, you leave the F's in and you average the A from summer school and the F, and you get about an average of a C. All right, so your transcript evaluation, grades 9 through 11, gives you a picture of the overall GPA 9 through 11. It's going to say 9 through 12 on the transcript, but you know there are no 12th grade grades until the second semester. But when you fill out the application, it's going, listen, this is critical. It's going to allow you to put your 9 through 12th grade grades on there, letters, A, B, C, D, etc. And that's going to calculate the numbers and give you a GPA calculation. However, if you got an A in algebra in the 9th grade, it's going to show up in the application because you have to show it. I'll tell you what the A through D requirements are in a second. But when they calculate the GPA, the colleges, they're only going to calculate 10th and 11th. So you want to max out in the 10th and 11th grade A's and B's, because that's the GPA that determines your qualifications. Now, why is this critical? Because if you have a 3.0 GPA, parents, you're going to shout on this part. If your kid has maintained a 3.0 GPA in the core courses, A through G core requirements, I'll give you those in a second, with a C or better, and they have a 3.0, guess what? They're an automatic admit for Cal States. They automatically get in. They are automatically admittable with a 3.0 or higher. And there are no ACT, SAT scores anymore. That's out of the box, out of the window. Are you with me so far? Again, if they have a 3.0 GPA in their transcript, 10 through 11th grade courses, they're an automatic admit to the Cal States. Now, there are impacted Cal States and unimpacted. Let's talk about that for just a second. Impacted means everyone's trying to get into them. It may take a little more than the 3.0. They may look at your portfolio, may ask you to write an essay. They may want a little higher because it's more competitive. Impacted simply means more people are trying to get into them. There's a list of them. I don't have the names off the top of my head, but all of your counselors know them, and any university admissions counselor will tell you if they're impacted or not. If they say they're impacted, their standards are going to be a little bit higher. But the general rule is a 3.0 high school GPA with a C or better in the A through G core requirements, which we'll go over in detail later, is an automatic admit. And remember, your child can pay for it because they're going to get what? The Cal Grant, which we're going to talk about in a minute. $10,000 to $12,000 a year, free money. And all you got to do to get the Cal Grant is fill out the FAFSA and know your name and address, phone number, that kind of thing, basic stuff, and you get in cha-ching, 10 to 12 grand a year to pay for that college. Now, UC is a little bit different. They're more competitive. The GPA probably begins, the lowest GPA is a 3.0. So now you got to go above that. That's where you're looking at your 3.3s, 3.5s, 3.6s, 4.0. Now you're competing on a much higher scale, and the impacted Cal States function somewhat like a UC or private, like the Harvards and the Yales. If you can get into a UC, you're qualified for Harvard. So whatever the qualifications are for a UC, they're the same for privates. HBCUs, the difference there is their deadlines are not November 30th. Cal States and UC's November 30th deadline. Out of states, HBCUs and many privates, their deadlines are beyond November 30th. But start with having your child, here's the game, apply to your Cal States and UCs. Why? Cha-ching, for the money. It's about options. It's not saying you've eliminated the HBCUs. It's not saying you've eliminated Harvard and Yale. It's not saying you've eliminated the LSUs and the out-of-state schools. It's saying that you're starting with show me the money, because the in-state schools are going to give you the most money, and then you can apply to those other schools because their deadlines are beyond November 30th. First of all, their deadlines are later, so you have more time. So you max out your applications for Cal States and UCs, and if you can't afford to pay for those applications, if you're in a Title I public school, most inner city schools of Title I, you get a fee waiver from your counselor. That'll cover that app fee for about $50 to $100 a pop. All right. And that $50 to $100 a pop adds up. 3 schools is about $300, $150 to $300. But if you get 3 free fee waivers, you don't have to pay that fee. All right. I got to keep going here. Okay. Let's go to, what am I missing here? A through G core requirements, C or better. Now, same slide. I got so much to cover, not a lot of time, so let me get to the next critical piece. Okay. There's something you cannot have on your applications. It's called a deficiency. A deficiency causes your child to be automatically eliminated from getting into a Cal State or UC. What is a deficiency? Deficiencies come in 2 forms. One, if your child gets less than a C or better on any of the A through G core requirements. So those GPAs we talked about for the 10th and 11th grade courses that go in the college app, they begin with C's or better on A through G core requirements. If you got a 4.5 GPA and a D in the first semester of biology, you're disqualified. A D in any A through G core requirement, 1/2 a semester, you can have a 4.6 GPA. You're not qualified. You're going to get a rejection letter. And it's going to say something like, dear Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, sorry to inform you. So your little Johnny didn't get into school because he was deficient in the A through G core requirements. They may not give you any more detail than that, but I can tell you what that means. That means they either got a C, below a C in an A through G core requirement. Tell you those in a second. Or number two, another way to get a deficiency is to be missing an A through G core requirement. Let's say you got 4 years of English and you took 3.5. You're missing a semester. That's a deficiency in the A through G core requirements. Let's say you need 2 years of math. You're missing 1 semester of algebra, but you got a 4.0. Doesn't matter. You're going to get rejected. You're missing a semester of algebra. And this is where your counselors are critical to make sure you're on track for the core requirements. But parents, I urge you, I implore you, I plead with you, I beg of you, do not put all the power in the hands of your counselors, because a lot of these counselors are steering, no disrespect to counselors, but in my years of doing this, a lot of them, particularly if they're in the predominantly white schools, that kind of thing, they're not giving these kids the right information. They're preparing them for high school graduation, but not college preparation. And college preparation has a different graduation track than a regular graduation track. The college preparation graduation track, make sure your counselor put your kids on it, means that they're not deficient. They have all their A through G core requirements. Going to give you those in just a second. And they're not deficient in having a C or better in all those courses. If they have less than a C or better in one semester, not qualified for Cal State or UC, no grant money. It's over, no Cal State grant money. Okay, I gotta keep moving. Okay, A through G core requirements. I'm gonna say this quick, you can get this from your counselors. Real quick, because I wanna get to the financial aid. All right, A through G, they need 4 years of college prep English. They need 3 years of mathematics, 4 recommended, but 3 necessary. Algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2 will do. Anything above algebra 2, that's a college prep course. It looks good on the transcript, like physics and that kind of thing. Calculus, those are bonuses, but you need at least algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2. Third A through G core requirement. Remember, C or better in all these courses, and you must have the number that I'm giving you. 4 years of English, 3 years of math, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2. Next core requirement, A through G, history and social science. 2 years, including 1 year of US history or 1 semester of civics and or American government, right? Number 4, science. 2 years of science with labs. That's of course your biology and your chemistry. Those come with labs, covers, it speaks for itself. Language, foreign languages. 2 years of the same foreign language, like French, like Spanish, and now sign language is included. And if you go to like a university and do a semester of one of those foreign languages, I think they count it as a 2 years worth, or a year and a half to 2 years worth, right? If they don't do 2 in high school, they can do it in a JC, community college, and 1 year in a community college, I think, gives you like 2. Double check with your counselors, but you need 2 years of foreign language, the same language, all right? And then visual and performing arts. You need 1 year of dance, drama, theater, music, art, anything like that, your visual and performing arts. 1 year of that, and then college prep electives, 1 year of any college prep elective. What's a college prep elective? Anything above the regular A through G core requirements. For example, if you took math, algebra 1, geometry, and then algebra 2, that's your 3 years math requirement. If you didn't take physics or calculus, you went 4 years of math, but one of those is a college prep math because you went above your core requirements. Anything above the A through G core requirements is a college prep elective, and that covers your A through G. And in all of your A through G, you must complete all of them. Automatically rejected from college, Cal State or UC, and that's the game. Number 2, and all of those, you must get a C or better, or you're automatically rejected no matter what the GPA. Okay, so let's keep moving here. Let's keep moving. And then you have here your essay assistance, and that's for your UCs and your privates. Next slide. And you can get one of your English teachers to help you with that. Just remember, I always say, when you're dealing with essays, you always end with how you're going to benefit the college. The college is sick of you telling them what they're going to do for you. They already know what they're going to do for you. They're going to give you a degree and set you on to your career. They want to know what you're going to do for them. Come close. I'm going to tell you a secret on what you tell them at the end of your essay. Come close. Tell them you're going to be a good alumni when you graduate and send them some money. All right. Because it's like a job. If I'm hiring you, I don't want to know you telling me what I can do for you. I already know what I can do for you. Put money in your pocket, help you pay your bills. I already know what I can do for you from a college, educate you and get you into a career. What can you do for me? I'm gonna graduate and be a grateful alumni. That will take your application essay and set it to the top and set it separated from the pack. Okay, that was free. That was a sidebar. All right. Now, key number 2. How am I doing on time? How am I doing on time? Key number 2, financial aid application. There are 4 steps here, 4 key components. Number 1, the financial aid app must be completed by March the 2nd, 2022, which is next year. This financial aid year is over. It ended March 2nd. Now, here's the critical piece for the money, parents. You see that bucket picture of a bucket of money? All right, the bucket of money means that when it runs out, it runs out. It's not like college applications. When you apply through the FAFSA and the GPA verification form for the Cal Grant, there are two key pieces. Number 1 is the FAFSA. Number 1 application must be filled out. Number 2 is the Cal Grant app. And the Cal Grant app is real simple. It's name, address, basic stuff. Your counselor verifies your GPA. Your high school counselor puts your GPA in there from the transcript. And remember, you're going to double check that yourself. And that's it. Those 2 pieces together is your whole financial aid package. Now, the Cal Grants deal with the Pell Grants. I'm sorry, you have in financial aid, you have the Cal Grants, Pell Grants, and SELG grants. Those are all free money. Cal Grants, $10,000 to $12,000 a kid. SELG, probably another $2,000 to $3,000. So those 2 together, SELG and Pell probably get you about another $5,000 to $7,000. So you got about $48,000 to $50,000 from the Cal Grant, another $5,000 to $7,000 from the Pell Grant. You got about $55,000 to $60,000 a year. I'm sorry, in 4 years, right? You can go to any college you want in California doing that, in most out-of-state colleges, right? But out-of-state's not going to give you that Cal Grant money. That's why I say start with the Cal States and the UCs. Okay, next. What's the next critical? Oh, kids. Word of advice to you, a word of caution. Stop bumping your gums to your parents because you're going to need them. And your parents are critical because you need their income taxes and their income levels to fill out those FAFSAs. Not the Cal Grant form, but the FAFSA comes before the Cal Grant form. It's FAFSA first, Cal Grant. FAFSA plus Cal Grant form equals all the money. But if you bumping your gums at your parent like you're running that house and they turn around and tell you, I'm not filling out nothing, guess what? Your future's over. You need their taxes. So let me give you some advice. Think of it like driving a car. Stay in your lane before you get run over. Respect and honor them because you're going to need them. All right, I don't have a lot of time to stay on that. I would tell you a story about that, but if there's time, I'll come back to that story. Now, the next critical thing is reviewing the acceptance letters and rejections. So you got student loans, scholarships and loans, that's free money, right? We'll talk about that in a second too. Let's move on. All right, we're on the next slide already. Gifts, grants, scholarships, that's gift money. Looks like they're wrapping me up here. So let me move a little quicker. GPAs, gifts, money, scholarships, that's your GPA money. So you get a lot of scholarships through GPAs, churches, ask your church pastors and stuff to see if there's folks that want to give you some money. Relatives, organizations like our fraternity, we give out scholarships and things like that. Uncles and aunts writing you checks, that's where you get free money, scholarship money, that kind of thing. And then you have loans, student loans and parent loans, all right? The final key is this. I know I'm moving fast. So the second key is financial aid applications. And the key there is that it starts January and ends in March. The third key is follow-up and inspiration. That's your mentoring, which we're giving you now. Valuable information. That's your interviewing skills. You may get rejected, and you can turn a rejection into an acceptance by asking for an interview. When a person sees you in person and gives you an interview, you have a second chance to sell yourself, and you could turn your rejection into an acceptance for your favorite school. And then you have financial aid and award letters review. That takes place between March the 3rd, one day after you fill your last day to apply for financial aid. Remember, I got to go back to this. Financial aid runs out. The early bird gets the green. If you can apply in January for financial aid, that FAFSA and that Cal Grant, do it in January because you're going to get the most money. If you don't apply till March 1st, you're going to get what's left in that bucket. It's running out. Every time someone applies, they're awarding them money. That brings me to the award letter. Number 3 on key 3, financial aid and award letters, SAR and SFEFC. I'm almost done, guys. The SAR is the student aid report. That's going to tell you what you're getting. The EFC is the the expected family contribution. That's what they expect your parents to pay towards all that money they, in addition to all the money they gave you, there's something they expect your household to pay. That's called the expected family contribution. It'll be shown on the student aid report. Now, how do they calculate that? It's a need-based number, right? Who gets all of the money? Students whose parents' incomes are very low. Their expected family contribution may be zero if the income's low enough, household income. That's why they need your tax forms and all that. But if you make some money, you know, whatever the EFC number is, that's what your household is responsible to pay. And that's why you have student loans and parent loans. Parents, I advise get student loans, make them responsible. Don't put that debt on yourself. Your debt was K through 12. Time for them to start paying the piper. Let them get a student loan if they need it. But if they don't need it, they can get scholarships and grants. The Cal Grant's gonna pay for most of that. And for the Cal Grant, all you need is you don't need necessarily a great GPA. It helps. But the Cal Grant, you just need to live in California and let your counselor verify your GPA. It verifies your GPA, your grade point average, right? That's it. And you can still get that $10,000 to $12,000. Now, what else? Follow up and appeals on rejection letters. When you get rejected, you can appeal. You write a letter asking why you were rejected and you want an appeal, and you can try and ask for an interview. You can turn that around. And then choose your colleges wisely, number 5. And then what I mean by that is, I think one of the brothers talked about it earlier. Look at your child's personality. You've been watching them since they were born. Figure out if they're better at a state school there in California because they mesh better with the West Coast, or if they're better on the East Coast, or if they're better at HBCU. You got to measure and check out their personality. All right. If they're good people persons and they're very humble, they can go anywhere. If they're little California, I'm better than you, you might want to be careful going down south. They like to fight down and they will try you. I've had that happen with some kids in the past. You know, they had a California air. California tends to bring a little jealousy from folks. So you got to watch the haters, but you got to judge what's best for your kid. All right. Okay. Anything else? What I missed? Oh, if you're religious at all, if you're Christian or what have you, get that child in to give gratitude to God, because, you know, some of you are going to need miracles. Miracles in the application process, miracles in the money, and God will give you both. And so you want to be able to say thank you to God if you believe in God, and then it's celebration for college elevation. I think I've covered everything. I hope I didn't go too far over time. Oh, I have 5 minutes. Okay, all right, excellent. I'll open the floor for questions, and if I see anything else necessary that I need to bring up for you, I will. That was a lot in a short period of time. So let me sum up before I take your questions real quick. I just want to give you a quick sum up and just make it real easy to remember. Okay, so key number 1, college applications. Between August and November 30th, 2022, get those applications ready. And of course, they deal with GPA verification and GPA evaluation. Transcript evaluation and GPA verification. That's number 1, key number 1 for college preparation. Key number 2, financial aid application. It begins January to March the 2nd. Critical. Apply early because the money runs out. You're going to get some money, but you're going to get what's left. Remember, people are applying from all over the world for that through that FAFSA and all over the 50 states. The early bird gets the worm. All right. Okay. Key number 3, spiritual inspiration. That's where you need your mentoring, your interviewing skills. And remember, any question they ask you in an interview is the same question. Why should I let you in my university? I don't care if they ask you strengths or weaknesses. Tell me about yourself. There's really one question. Why should I let you in my university? Why should you let me in your university? Because I'm a hard worker. I come from a line of struggle. I want to be the first in my family, such and such. And your prestigious university, all those that helped me in my life, I want to say thank you, including your university, who I will be a great alumni to. That's just a general interviewing tip. All right. And that's your mentoring, interviewing, and then you'll follow up on your appeals and your rejections. Choose your school wisely and celebrate the goodness of God for acceptances, for money, and miracles. With that, I open the floor for questions. I know it was a lot. I know it was fast. Hopefully it was helpful and you could get something from it.
Thank you, Brother Eddie Slack and Brother Ronnie Walker. Both gave you some timelines. Please be mindful of the dates and adhere to them. And here to facilitate some additional questions is Brother Rodney Jones. Brother Jones.
Great presentation, Brother Slack.
Thank you, brother.
You on time. You on time.
I was trying to move it. It's a lot in a little time, but they got the video, so hopefully they can rewind it slowly, whatever they need to do. Amen.
Yes, I know. Okay, first question. Can you get a Cal grant for both Cal States and UCs?
The Cal grant is one Cal grant, and I mean, the Cal grant is for any schools in California. So UCs are University of California schools, and Cal States are California schools. So the Cal grant is for either of them or both of them. And whatever school they're applying to, whether it's a Cal State or a UC, the Cal grant is available. Yes, absolutely. It's available to either one you go to.
Next question. AP classes are listed as college level courses. Asking for my daughter, she's taking 3 AP classes. What can you say about that?
Okay, AP courses, bravo to her, because that's going to increase her GPA. AP courses add a point, and so do honors courses. So if she got an A and say AP biology, right? Regular biology, she would get 4 points. Because she has AP biology, she's going to get 4 points plus 1. She's going to get 5. So her GPA is going to go up by that point, right? And so if she's got 3 AP courses, she's got 3 points added to her GPA. So she's going to have above, let's say she had 5 AP courses and her GPA was normally a 4.0. She's going to have like a 4.5. So the AP courses add points to the GPA, and so do honors courses. So I encourage those, if your kid can handle them. Why? Because if they make a C in AP biology, it's like a B, because they get the 2 points for the C plus 1 for the AP. It's like they made a B. So AP courses are encouraged if your kid can handle them, because it's going to enhance the GPA. And the name of the game is GPA to get into your Cal States, your UCs, your privates.
What's the earliest you can fill out the FAFSA?
That's a good
2021-2022 college year.
Okay, that's a good question. Here's my advice on that. I advise parents and students this. Forget the FAFSA right now. What good is the FAFSA going after the money and you haven't been accepted? So you want to focus on August through November 30th, the college application piece, which took most of my time, because it's critical. Once you've gotten those applications mailed out, you're going to start getting acceptances between December and February. And so between January and February, and between January and March, now you go after the money, because you might get the money and haven't been accepted anywhere. You want to get the applications done first and then go for the money. So the earliest, I would say some schools are year round. You can apply for you can use FAFSA. Depends on the college. But I advise starting with Cal States and UCs, and generally I would start mine between January and February. Really January, that's when I would start.
Okay, here's another FAFSA question, and it deals with, can you use old taxes to file for your FAFSA?
Can you use old taxes? Basically, you want your current taxes. The FAFSA is going to ask you for the current year and maybe the prior year. You can't come in if you have current income taxes this year to file and taxes from last year that you filed. You can't go back 3 years and come back with a lower income. They want to verify your current income, with the most recent information. Now let's pause there for a second. Who gets all the money? I told you that low income levels get all the money. Might have a 0 expected family contribution, meaning they're gonna pay for all your college. Either they're gonna give you scholarships, grants, or work study. They're gonna give you money, and there may be some parent loans, student loans, if necessary, but they're gonna give you the money. But now, who else gets all of the money? Students who are independent, emancipated, wards of the court. If they can prove that they're independent and been independent and have their own tax forms, meaning they ain't making no money, probably a couple $1,000s a year, but they're independent and they've been independent and they have their own taxes, and they can prove that, then they're gonna get all the money. If the student is a ward of the court or emancipated, they're going to get all of the money, along with students whose families have lower income levels. Hope that covered the question.
Okay, last question. If a student get a poor AP grade, can he have that grade removed from their transcript?
No, when you get a grade, you have a grade. What they can do is take it in the summer and make it up. Remember, the counts, let's say he got an F in AP biology, this used by AP biology. And in the summer, the student took it again and got an A in it. The Cal States are gonna wipe out the F. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I was talking really fast. The UCs are not. The UCs are gonna take the F that they got in the regular school year and average it with the A that they got in summer school. So the UCs and the privates, they're gonna average them together. The Cal States will take the F and wipe it out, and only the A counts. That's the way it works. The Cal States operate a little differently from the UCs. They're a little more lenient. Yeah. So no, you get an F on the transcript, it's there. But if you got it between 9th and 12th grade, it's there. But remember, if they didn't get it in 10th through 11th grade or 10th through 12th grade, they don't have to show it in the application because they just want the 10th through 11th grade courses, right? But if they got it in that 10th through 11th grade year and made it up in the summer, they'll have to show it for the Cal States, but they show the A from the summer also with it. The Cal States, for the UCs, the Cal States, they don't have to show it, they just show the A that they made up in the summer because they made it up.
Okay. Brother Slack, thank you for answering the questions. All other questions will be answered later on. Back to you, Brother Mel Palmer.
Good luck, graduates.
Thank you, Brother Slack. A lot of information for you parents to take under consideration in preparing your students for the next level. Here with us is our leader of the Fatherhood Initiative Program. We will be remiss if we left the fathers out. So, Brother George Taylor, would you take it?
Thank you, Brother Palmer. There is a father crisis, father absence crisis in America. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 19.7 million children, more than 1 in 4, live without a father in the home. If that is the case, what does that mean for all of us on the call? Greetings, fathers, parents. My name is George Taylor. I am the 12th District Fatherhood and Mentoring Chairman. I'm also the editor and publisher of the International Fatherhood and Mentoring newsletter for the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. We have an excellent program outlined for you in the next 20 minutes or so. Next slide, please. Our theme for the next few minutes is making my life matter. Making my life as a father matter, and making it matter in the life of my son or my grandson or my grandsons. Next slide, please. The panel that will be discussing this issue of fatherhood and the crisis, the apparent crisis of the absence of fathers in the family are Brother Larry Hammond, who will discuss the inevitable power in values. And values are important, brothers. Values assure us of who we are and what is meaningful to us in terms of our job, in terms of our family, in terms of ourselves. We value ourselves, we value our families, we value our jobs. What are those values? And those values distinguish you from the next person. Following Brother Hammond is a live and living university president. You've heard a lot about colleges and universities. You've heard a lot about HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. Well, you will have the opportunity to listen to and speak with, via your questions and answers, a a university president. Dr. Quentin Ross is president of Alabama State University. He is also the chairman of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity's HBCU committee. Following Dr. Ross, Dr. Mel Palmer will talk about stress and stresses in this time of COVID-19, where we are all locked down and unable to experience the spontaneity in life that we would normally experience. And following Dr. Palmer, Brother Dan Braxton will wrap up this session. And at the end of all four presentations, hold your questions until the end of the presentation. Brother Braxton and Dr. Palmer will bring the entire panel back on the screen, and we will have a discussion at that time. So, Brother Larry Hammond, talk to us, sir, about the inevitable power in values. Thank you.
I was sitting in a restaurant at 10 years old with my father in Atlantic City, New Jersey, waiting for a lobster dinner that I had been promised and we were going to enjoy together. My dad stood up, went over to the maitre d' and indicated to the maitre d' that we were not being served as we should, and look around the room. We were the only Black people sitting in that restaurant. You know, my dad showed me that he stood up for what he believed in. He showed me how to treat people with respect. He showed me to always enjoy every day, every minute in our life. My mom showed me the importance of scholarship and moving through life in a way where I was caring for others. These are the values that were transcended to me by my parents. These are the values that have helped me become who I am. My name is Larry Hammond, and I'm here to talk to you today about inevitable power of choosing your values. This is one of the most important things you can do, fathers, parents, grandparents, others who have an impact on young people today. What do you value? And I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about cars. I'm not talking about material things. What makes you who you are? Your values reflect what is important to the way you live and to the way you work. What is important to you? Next slide, please. What are values? Values are your conscience, your morals, your character, your attitude, your conduct, and your ethics. These are the things that make up values. You know, our fraternity has values that we live by. Those would be manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and we uplift each other. Those are our values. Next slide. What are your values? Values are the deeply held beliefs that drive and direct your behavior. And when you can transition those values to the people that look up to you, your children, those are the gifts that you are giving them to carry them through life. Next slide. What are your core values? Your core values are the most, or what you consider most important in your life. Literally what you value. And those are the things that are going to be important. My dad showed me, stand up for what you believe in. Don't disrespect others, and don't let others disrespect you. Those are your values. Next slide, please. Some examples of values. Are you a dependable person? Are you loyal? Are you honest? Are you creative? Do you show compassion to others?
Are you motivated in what you do? Do you value your health and fitness and service to others? Next slide, please. Your values are a choice. These are the things that you decide to do. These are the things that are going to make you who you are. And when you demonstrate those values to your children, to your sons, to your daughters, they will show up later in life. They will take them to the next level that they need to be. I'm a father of 3, and I look at my children and I watch how they have evolved and how they've grown. And I believe that the values that were transitioned to them from me, from their mother, and the others who have made contact with them through their life have put them in a place where they are today. And I'm very proud of each of them. Next slide, please. So some questions. How do you get to this point? What's important in your life? What type of behaviors make you angry? What are you most proud of? When were you happiest? What do you do in terms of coming along and bringing those values together? So let's look at those questions. Those are how you're going to be able to determine what your values are and how you make those choices that are going to be the foundations that you're going to be able to transition to your young people. Next slide, please. You know, Roy Disney said, it is not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. You've heard a lot today in this webinar about choices that need to be made, decisions that need to be made about college, about what journeys your children are going to be making today, tomorrow, and the next day. Your values are going to be, and the values that you give them are going to be how they make decisions and how they make choices going forward. So when the hard choices come, they have a foundation. They have something to stand on, and it comes from you. Next slide, please. Values are your power. Knowing your personal values changes your behavior. Knowing your values makes you confident in your decisions, and it will make them confident in theirs. When you become confident in your values, you can help others. Next slide, please. You know, Nicki Minaj says, as long as you know what your values are, as long as you know that you have love, that you are loved and who you are, your morals, your values, that type of stuff, you're okay. And that's what you want them to be. You want them to be okay in whatever environment that they go to. Next slide, please. You need to be the model, be the example, show the way, stand up, let your children know, let them know what your values are. The most valuable gift that you can give them are solid core values that will take them to their next levels. Pass the baton, give them the handoff of a good life. Character is destiny, and your values will determine destiny. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Hammond. Very excellent comments, very excellent dialogue, very excellent presentation. Dr. Quentin Ross, we've heard a lot today about going to college. We've heard a lot of theory, but I want the parents to see the embodiment of the college experience. As I said before, a live and living university president. Talk to us, Brother Ross.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor, and good morning to the fathers and mothers and guardians, and particularly our scholars. I extend to you greetings on behalf of the Alabama State University located in the historic Montgomery, Alabama. Alabama State University, on behalf of their Board of Trustees and all of their students, 4,000 students and alumni, faculty and staff, I greet you. We are a place that we say that we're small enough to know you, but big enough to grow you. And to your parents, to the parents, and to our young people, you've heard phenomenal information about decisions that you will have to make. And I want to impress upon you that there is life after high school. And you've gotten a lot of information about careers and the way that you pursue going to college. Well, here are a few more things to reiterate to you. Next slide, please. You've heard about the HBCU, and of course, the acronym for HBCU is Historically Black Colleges and Universities. We know that they emerged after the Civil War, and what I want you to know is that HBCUs are elite institutions of higher education. But the reason why they have this designation is because they were the only institutions that could be attended by Blacks after the Civil War. The very first one was established, Cheney University in Pennsylvania, which was founded in 1837. The university that I serve as president is 154 years old, founded by 9 freed slaves with only $500. And so they are elite institutions of higher education and have the designation because these were the only institutions that we could attend. There are 101 HBCUs in the United States, both public and private. Next slide, please. There are 2-year community colleges, and you've heard about the 2-year colleges. There are historically Black 2-year community college. 4-year colleges and universities are higher education institutions. So you have both 2-year and 4-year historically Black colleges. Approximately 10% of all African-American college students attend HBCUs. However, students of any race or color is welcome to attend HBCU. At Alabama State University, we have 40 different countries represented on our campus. Next slide. And this is just a parade of HBCUs, so you can choose the one of your liking. And of course, I represent the Alabama State University, which is circled here. Next slide, please. This just gives you a snapshot of the thousands and thousands of individuals who've graduated from HBCUs. And one in particular, you probably know all of the faces on the screen, but we have to highlight and pay homage to our first African-American female vice president, Ms. Kamala Harris, who was a graduate of Howard University. Next slide, please. Why should you select an HBCU? It provides accessibility and affordable education to millions of students of color. When you talk about HBCUs, and you talked about the STEM area and engineering, when you look at the majority of African-American teachers, doctors, judges, engineers, and other scientific and technological professionals, they all graduated from an HBCU. And not only that, someone somewhere in your family has touched an HBCU. Next slide, please. Why should you select an HBCU? 23% of all African-American graduates are from HBCUs. 40% of all STEM degrees are conferred from HBCUs. 60% of all engineering degrees are earned by African-American students from an HBCU. And 70% of all African-American dentists and physicians earn degrees at HBCUs. Remember, I told you that HBCUs are elite institutions of higher education. Next slide, please. Example of what you gain at an HBCU, and our previous brother Hammond talked about it. When you talk about the values that are instilled at your home, but when you go to an HBCU, it's instilled in you to have a sense of pride, not only for your institution, but for who you are as an individual. Your integrity, you're committed to ethical standards, your work ethic. These are the type of things that you develop from an HBCU. As an HBCU graduate, and you see on this picture, I'm standing with our student leaders. I served as a student body president for Alabama State University, and now I serve as its 15th president. But the things that I learned at an HBCU, at my HBCU, have gone with me throughout life. You have remarkable accomplishments. It molds young African-American minds, and you have faculty from all over who are expert in their chosen field. Next slide, please. how to apply. And you've heard this before, but you can't hear it enough. And when to apply. I say that individuals should start looking at college even when they're in the 6th grade. I think one of the other presenters said that that's when you start looking for your career, but you have to make sure that you do your research. And if you have the opportunity to visit the college, and we know that during time of COVID, there are institutions that have virtual visits. Visit those institutions to get a true feeling, because truly at an HBCU, it makes you feel like you're at home. Request a tour virtually. Make a list of the colleges that you want to attend. Make a decision to attend an HBCU. You complete their admissions applications. Some applications are free. You complete your FAFSA, which you've heard about before, free application for federal student aid, and you find out about all the scholarships and you apply. You apply. Next slide, please. Finally, again, we talk about the FAFSA because it's so important that you fill out that information so you know exactly how much it would cost you to attend whatever college that you choose. And many, during COVID, many institutions are having virtual FAFSA workshops, so you can attend any one of them, even one here in the state of Alabama. And that's a slide that talks about the one on April 12th. Next slide, please. Finally, when you talk about college life, the cultural aspect of college life in an HBCU is second to none. You hear about the bands, you hear about the athletes. Today, we played Deion Sanders from Jackson State in our athletic facilities. But when you look at these pictures, this is what the way of life is like at an HBCU. And individuals that leave HBCUs gain friendships and gain the knowledge that will drive them to great links throughout their lives. I attended an HBCU, Alabama State University. It allowed me to see the world. And so I just encourage you fathers, you mothers, and even our young scholars. Our young scholars, all of you have what I call is swag. Students with ambitious goals. You choose the goals, set those goals high, and you can accomplish anything that you want to with an education from an HBCU. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Brother Ross. As a proud graduate of an HBCU, I am pleased to be on the panel with you. Our next speaker is Brother Dr. Mel Palmer, who will talk to us about stress and stressors in this era, in this day and time of COVID-19, as I said before, being locked in, shut down, and without the ability to move as we have previously been accustomed to moving. So Dr. Palmer, talk to us about stress and stresses and how we as parents might cope with all of the goings on in our environment today. Have the mic.
Thank you very much, Brother Taylor. Good morning, fathers. Good morning, uncles. Good morning, fathers-to-be. We are going to talk about the one thing that we have a whole lot of, but know very little about and share the least. We're talking about our emotions. But before we get into my presentation, I want to share a story that I experienced just the other day. I was observing some adolescent behavior on a park, and there were two African-American girls. One was 8 and the other one was 9. And they walked over to me and they said to me, "You are the same color as we are." And I said, "Yes." Then they proceeded to talk with me. That's how I know that one was 8 and the other one was 9. So I asked the little girls, "Where's your mother?" They said, "I don't know." Then I asked, "Well, where's your father?" And they proceeded to say, "He left when we were very young." Now, I was lost for words, but I responded to it like any other father would respond. And I said, "I'm sorry that happened." But then they began to tell me how they were treated differently because of the color of their skin. And then now I am a little concerned. And so I said to them, shame on the ones that treat you differently because of the color of your skin. Shame on them, because you are two beautiful young girls. And then I walked away after saying that, but it made me realize that as fathers, sometimes we have to step in the gap. And for that, I'm saying to you as fathers, as uncles, cousins, relatives, whomever you may be that had to step in the gap to fill in for where our fathers were absent. Next slide, please. So, Brother Taylor made the question. He said, well, he made the comment and said that there's a crisis in America with fathers. And so I beg to ask the question, is there a crisis? 70% of Black fathers have experienced some type of racial trauma in America. There's an unclear definition of what is a father supposed to be like. What roles should a father play in his child's life? In 1970, became the introduction to single parent families. The deindustrialization of our communities left fathers with having to go outside and sometimes transfer out of state. In any event, it left the mother as a single parent. Now, the introduction also brought into the picture welfare. Welfare simply said farewell to fathers, meaning that single parents could not get benefits for their children unless the father was absent or unless the father was out of the home. Then we got 64% of fathers are absent from their home as a result. 13.1% are addicted to alcohol and drugs. And here in California, 28.5% of all incarcerated males are African Americans. And in the year 2000, the Faith-Based Initiative, the new FBI, separated the churches as being a pillar of resources, which left fathers still not understanding what their roles are, and it depleted some of their support and resources. Not to mention, entered stage left was COVID-19. And this has disrupted the whole routine. The routine of everyday activities such as work, parenting, relationships, schools, and caring for our loved ones, and presented it as a challenge. Next slide, please. So it's normal to have these types of feelings, particularly during COVID-19, but it's normal to have these feelings in everyday life because everything that we do requires our emotions. Whether we decide to get up in the morning, whether we decide to purchase a blue car as opposed to a red car, has to do with our emotions. So anxiety about being separated from our loved ones is no different. It's a loss, and humans need that particular contact. The uncertainty and hopelessness about how long this pandemic will last has created anxiety across the board. Concerns for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. Frustrations about not being able to fulfill the responsibility as a father, such as work, parenting, and maintaining a healthy relationship, not only with your spouse, but with your children as well. Boredom and isolation. Because of social distancing, because we are supposed to be self-quarantined at some point in this whole pandemic, there's the boredom and isolation. Also, thoughts of blame, worries, and fears of losses, because we've seen several of our loved ones pass away as a result of COVID-19. So, some tips for coping. Connect with loved ones through video calls. They're waiting on your call, just like you need to contact them. Stay informed with accurate and reliable information. And I say that again, accurate and reliable information. Be patient with yourself and others. Others are going through the same emotional stress that you are. So be patient. Make a list of your personal strengths. These personal strengths got you through troubled times before. You still have them. Use them to your advantage. Have daily check-ins with your spouse or significant others, as well as with your children. Just do a gut check. See if, frankly, to see if you're okay and to see if they're okay as well. Relax your body, deep breathing, engage in some enjoyable activities, go for walks. Also, make sure that you get the help that you need. If you need it, get it. It's not, counseling and help is not just for white people or for people that are crazy. Some resources that you can access would be NAMI, which is the National Association for Mental Illness. Doesn't mean that you're crazy. It's a support system for you. And they are NAMI.org. Suicide prevention hotlines, and your local school counselors and community resources are all available. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Thank you. This is Dr. Mel, your emotions doctor. Back to you, Brother Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mel. We will bring up the entire panel now, and Brother Dan Braxton will orchestrate this discussion. He will summarize, wrap up, and we will respond to any questions that the audience might have. And we may even have some questions that we might want to address to some of the panel members. Brother Braxton, you're on.
Dr. Taylor. Good morning, young men, parents, and guests. I want to take this time to acknowledge the fact that we've got people from outside of California that are attending this conference. Shout out to Louisiana, shout out to Texas, and shout out to any other observers that I may have missed. Now, at this point, I've got the difficult task of summarizing all of these excellent presentations. And you might ask, what gives me the qualification to summarize? Well, as a father of three, grandfather of five, a great-grandfather of four, I think I'm experienced enough, maybe not wise, but experienced to know and recognize when we need help, when we need guidance, when we need direction. In summary of our part of the presentation, Dr. George Taylor made the statement, the bold statement, that there is a fatherhood crisis in our households, okay? And the way we look at it, the way the brothers look at it is a leadership opportunity that is essential. Fathers, I recommend that you be involved because you, as part of a team, are essential to the development of the members of your family. Whether you're in the household or not, you have a responsibility for the betterment and growth of your family, wherever they are, whatever status they're in. We need all parents to work together to strengthen our families. You've probably all heard of It Takes a Village. But before the village can get to work, it takes a team to get the family to the village to take advantage of the opportunities. So again, the family unit is key to our survival, to our cultural survival, to our professional survival. Brother Larry Harmon explained how important it is to model strong values, because essentially values are the framework for the success of our families and our cultural success and the success of our children in our communities. So again, we need to understand that in order to be successful, we have to work from the ground up and have strong structural support. That structural support and discipline comes from being raised in an environment where there are values, and those values are communicated effectively. Dr. Quentin Ross held up the HBCU experience as, I was going to say originally, an alternative, but it's not an alternative. It is a legitimate path to a college education. It is not separate but equal, but another opportunity. And that opportunity can build pride and cultural competence for all folks of color and folks that aren't of color. It provides an opportunity to expand your cultural competence. The HBCUs he mentioned provide a personalized attention and a unique cultural experience that can be useful to everyone, not just those. And like I said, it isn't just as good as, it is equal to the educational experience that you would receive at a major college or a private university. The networks are just as strong, the experiences are just as strong, the cultural influence is stronger. And from those, I'm saying that from those of us that have had the opportunity to attend an HBCU. Dr. Mel Palmer addressed stressors and stresses. He recommended coping strategies. Under these particular times, again, it seems like everybody's stress and experience is unique, but there's a whole bunch of us in the same boat, and all of us need to get help when they need it, and help is available in our communities. It also trains our families to look outside themselves, and our children look outside themselves to use whatever tools available to improve their lot and the lot of their families. It is my hope and our hope that you can use, or that you add, the Brothers of Omega Psi Phi to the list of resources that you use to strengthen your family. We're available, and at this time, we'd like to take the time to entertain your questions and address them to our panel. Now, you probably all heard that desperate times require desperate solutions. It's our thought that desperate times require focused strategies. We need to be able to use all of the resources available to us to make it through these stormy seas. COVID is a unique situation, but it's not any more unique than the Spanish flu, or the economic challenges, or the racial challenges that we've had to experience. What we've found out in our history is when we work together, we can overcome these challenges. Let me take this time right now to look and see if there's any questions available. Right now, there are no open questions, but what I'd like to get things started, I'll ask a couple for our panelists to discuss. First off, to Dr. Quentin Ross, you've probably heard quite a few, the audience has heard quite a few, a lot of information about HBCUs and the unique value that they have to for our children, or children of color. What's unique? One of the unique things that you mentioned is, and I'll lead to my question, is you implied that an experience in an HBCU serves as an extension to the training and the family environment and I'll throw in Larry Hammond's comment about values. It's an extension of your home values, and it gives HBCUs the opportunity to reinforce those values. Could you add anything to that, Dr. Ross?
Yes, of course, and thank you so much for the question. But truly, all of us come with values, but when you attend an HBCU, it serves as a reinforcement. And you talk about all of the resources that are available. When you come to an HBCU, and I think all individuals that have attended could reach back to a professor or someone that they met that touched their lives on that campus, which helped reinforce the fact of who they were and also what they could accomplish. So not only do you get that well-grounded, because any of the individuals that are working at Nassau, I can give you an example of a young lady that's working at Nassau now from Alabama State University. Her foundation came from a historically Black college. And so when you look at our judges, when you look at our vice president, the foundation and the values that were instilled in her came from not only her family, but the extension of the HBCU. Myself, going to Alabama State University, I was a student government president there. I pledged Omega Psi Phi there. I learned parliamentary procedure there. The lessons that I learned at Alabama State University allowed me to go on to serve as one of 7 African-American state senators in the state of Alabama. And it was because of that rich culture that the HBCU experience provides. And Dr. Taylor, who is, Tuskegee is right down the street. I'm sure he could chime in to talk about his experiences, but it is an extension of value at an HBCU.
Yes, Dr. Ross, and I will say that I ended up at Tuskegee because of a spoon in my mother's flatware. That spoon was different from all the rest. We all, as young boys, little boys, have these kitchen conversations. And my ultimate trip to Tuskegee came as a result of those kitchen conversations with my mother and that spoon, that one spoon that looked different from all of the rest. She also explained that her, and I credit you and Alabama State, by the way, for giving me those lessons from my mother about Tuskegee. She had the opportunity a long time ago of meeting Dr. George Washington Carver at a teachers conference at Alabama State University. It was Alabama State College at that time. And she would tell me about those experiences. Who is George Washington Carver? Who is Booker T. Washington? And I would listen. And I ended up stepping off of a bus one day onto the campus of Tuskegee. I had never seen anything like it before. But in order to get from my hometown to Tuskegee, we had to pass through Montgomery. So thanks for that opportunity. I think everybody on the panel, except for one person, has some connection to HBCUs. Am I right, panelists?
I actually do have connections to HBCU.
Everybody does.
Okay.
I started out at Coppin State College in Baltimore.
How did you know I was singling you out?
I got a shout out from Bluefield State College. But anyway, Dr. Palmer, what is unique? Are there any unique stressors faced by families of color that may not be like us, that are unique to families of color?
Wow, that is a very good question. And there's several stresses that are unique to African-American families, people of color. And I would venture to say the one most important one is systemic racism in America that plagues African-Americans today, has been for years. And one of the additional stresses to that is that African-Americans don't see a way out. They see that that's going to continue to happen, and without any real solutions.
Okay, one more question about Mr. Hammond about values. I kind of put words in your mouth by saying that values form the structural framework for the success of your children. Would you expound on that, please, or tell me that I'm wrong?
Well, you're not wrong, Brother Braxton. What I was trying to get across was that values set the foundation. They are the core rocks that hold people together when times get tough. When young people get into situations that they're confused about, they're meeting other people, if they go off in different places and have different experiences, it's going to be those core values that are going to anchor them and bring them to the right decisions or to the best decisions for them. So when we talk about values being the stepping stones, the actual foundations that move young people in a direction that keep them grounded, not only to home and to family, to the things that they've been taught and the things that they've learned, those are the things that are going to keep them moving forward in a very positive way. And as we talk about going to HBCUs, as Dr. Ross has talked about, and I too am a product of HBCU, Clark Atlanta University, we have those values reinforced in many cases. You know, when I went to school, as some of other people that I knew that went off to other schools that were not HBCUs, they were running rampant and running around on the campus and doing all kinds of things. Not that we didn't have fun, but we weren't allowed to go into the young ladies' dormitories and do things and without having being able to sign in and those kinds of things. So they're going to be values that are going to be taken forward from family to the next place into the next part of their journey. And that's going to be so important as a foundation.
Thank you for that. But I've got to ask this one question. And it's an open question to all four of you guys, and I've got to ask it because it's a good question. What strategies or ideas can be shared to encourage Black men on how important it is to understand their roles as a father? Anybody jump in? George, you can start since you're the...
What, the oldest of the group?
Yes, sir. I may look the oldest, but you are.
Thank you, sir. No, I agree with Brother Hammond. Growing up again in the household with mom and dad, mom and dad didn't always agree, but even in their differences, they were teaching values. And I can remember going off to college in the 60s and always calling mom to solve my problem on campus. And I can remember distinctly her saying to me, son, you're down there and I'm up here. You know more about what's going on down there than I do. So I trust that you can solve your own problem.
And Brother Braxton, as we talk about strategies, I think the one thing that we have to do is basically this example that we have here. All of us and many of us are fathers. I'm a father of two. I think it's important for fathers to be with fathers to talk about the various issues. And I think that gives us an opportunity. I mean, just as a father, you know, I'm on a Zoom Sunday school call with 30 other men every Sunday, but we have to seek out individuals who may not necessarily have gotten it all right, but have the necessary experience in terms of raising their children and being good fathers. And as it's been stated by Dr. Palmer, you know, we can't be afraid to ask for help. And it's not necessarily in the counseling realm or, you know, whether you're crazy, but to seek out individuals, I think, that may have the experience. That's one strategy that you can use to talk to other fathers, to kind of get feedback and to come up with solutions together.
And I agree totally and wholeheartedly on Dr. Ross's statement. The other thing with that, just to add a little piece to that, is that we have to stop allowing society to dictate what is a good African-American father. We have to get in there and identify our own role as a father. We did it in the past, Brother Taylor. You had
Yes.
that elder in your ear telling you what was a good man.
Yes.
I think we've lost that. So we have to begin to develop our own narrative as fathers, as African-American fathers.
Are you suggesting that we have the right to determine how we shall deal with society?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much closes out our portion of the presentation. We've hoped that you've picked up some things that you could use. And if you can think of other questions, please direct them to us and we will make sure you get an answer tailored to your personal situation.
And
Again,
contact Brother Haynes to talk more about science and all of that good stuff that he and his son shared with us. Excellent information.
okay, I
Thanks to all.
return the baton to you, Mel.
Brother Mel.
Okay. So everybody, I'm hoping that you enjoyed this program today. And if you missed portions of it, or you know someone that for whatever reasons could not be on this webinar, please direct them to the 12th District TV on YouTube. That's YouTube 12D TV on YouTube to see this. It should be up and running at the latest is Tuesday. So with that being said, I will return the mic back to our fearless leader, Brother Jim Wilson.
Thank you, Brother Palmer. This has been an outstanding youth leadership conference. Before I finish my final remarks, I would like Brother Michael Haynes to return with a very special announcement. Brother Haynes.
Yeah, thank you, good brother. Yes, we have identified the winners of the 5 drones and the 5 scooters, and they've already been sent information, a form to fill out and complete, and subsequently upon completion of the form, we'll be mailing out their gifts. So I'm going to acknowledge the following winners: Rob Cameron, Alicia Waters, Elena White, Tiffany Boyd, Zachariah Crunch, Lisa Sarno, Shahid Muhammad, Cyril Rodriguez, Zanaro Embryo, Alexander Sanborn, and Marcus Crouch. So again, for those students that participated in the online exercise during the STEM portion of this great event, which is a new and improved section of this event, please complete the forms and everyone should acknowledge those students. Also, we have 4 bath gifts for mothers and we have 4 gift cards for fathers. So the first 4 mothers or fathers that email me at dogque@hotmail.com will get those gifts. So again, I want to thank all the sponsors, and definitely I want to thank also the men of Omega Psi Phi, but even more, definitely the sponsors. Again, in this case would be the South Coast Air Quality Management District, Air Resources Board, American Integrated Services. Oh, by the way, students, we will begin our engineering program at Cal State Dominguez Hills, virtual mentoring as well as tutorial program, math, science, and engineering beginning in September. So if you're interested in joining us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., where we can tutor you on specific subject matter, please also email me at that email address. Again, on behalf of the charities, I want to thank all the brothers as well as the participants, especially the parents and the students. Back to you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Brother Haynes. I would like to thank the panelists for such an outstanding presentation. I would like to thank the leadership of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity for sticking with us. I would like to give special thanks to our tech support team headed by Brother Nick Thompson and Brother Sean Scott. And above all, I want to thank all the parents and participants. Without you, we couldn't have had this presentation, and I certainly appreciate you all. I would like to give thanks to some of the sponsors. First of all, I would like to thank Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, the Just Foundation, Bridge Builders Foundation, Inland Valley News, American Integrated Services, Upward Bound Charities, Phi Beta Beta Charities. One last thing, we have a GoFundMe page set up for this. Everyone that want to contribute to help support these individuals, we certainly appreciate it. The GoFundMe information will be sent to your email address. So you'll have it. So please donate if you can. Again, this has been an outstanding conference. I really want to thank all the participants. As I mentioned prior, all of our meetings began and end with a prayer. So again, I'm going to call Reverend Jewett Walker to pray us out. Brother Walker.
Thank you very much. Let's bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, how grateful we are for the wonderful information that was disseminated today. We thank you for the participation of the youth and their families. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the presenters and all the information that they shared, their time and resources. We know, Heavenly Father, that we have to study to show ourselves approved, but we thank you for allowing us to come together, and we ask that you continue to guide our steps as we leave this place and to take the information and to put it to good use, not under a bushel, but to put it to good use. In your name we pray, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Walker, and good day. This has been an excellent conference. Good day, all.